Chapter 501, Ambushing the Immortal Realm Warrior. All eyes turned toward him. With a sinister grin he accused, "You filthy beasts think you can mock me, huh? How dare you?" The air hung heavy with tension as his words cut through the chaotic moment. His earlier amusement turned into anger in a split second, and his cultivation no longer stayed suppressed. The two teenagers also became serious, and the dragon girl was quick to unleash a barrier over the field and lock the space. "Aren't your worlds supposed to be an immortal plane? Isn't this a place with thin natural energy? Why are these powerful beings popping up one after another?" Sylvandria, utterly baffled, appeared on the verge of a breakdown. Her usual composure crumbled, replaced by a visible state of confusion and distress. Mark turned serious as he responded. "Two of the 6 demigods of this world, the Bloodhill's Dragon Emperor and the Beast Empire's Werewolf Lord." After a brief pause, he added, "I just never expected the ruler of the Bloodhill Forest is also the founder of Void Temple, and over 2,000 years old. She is a woman, though. Shouldn't she be called a Dragon Empress instead?" Eyal buted in the middle of a conversation, earning a glare from Mark and Sylvandria at the same time as if they were asking whether it is the right time to joke or something. You both continue." Letting out an awkward laugh, Eyal stayed silent. Mark became a spectator to watch them battle. It would be nice if the enemy gets defeated, but it doesn't matter if turns out the other way. The only thing he wishes is that this shouldn't be a one-sided battle. Only that way he can become confident enough to tackle them in the near or far future. After a while, in the arena, the Dragon Emperor and the Werewolf Lord clashed fiercely with an immortal from another realm. The air crackled with the intensity of their combat, each blow and exchange echoing through the space. The arena became a battleground, where these powerful beings collided in a struggle that transcended realms. The Dragon Emperor and the Werewolf Lord hadn't unleashed their real power yet, but in the ongoing fight with the Immortal, it was clear that none had the upper hand. They seemed evenly matched, each one countering the other's moves in a balanced struggle. In the midst of the clash, Mark observed the perfectly balanced exchange of attacks. It left him questioning which side, if any, was restraining their full strength. The collective assault effortlessly nullified the Immortal's attacks, leaving no substantial energy aftermath. It was as if their combined efforts seamlessly countered every move, creating a field where the Immortal's influence dissipated without leaving a trace of released energy. The Immortal doesn't have any reason to hold back unless he is trying to play with them. On the other hand, the demigod beasts have every reason to hold back their strength in case they are stronger because of the fear of collateral damage. It is also why a barrier was placed beforehand. However, could 2 demigods be able to overpower an immortal? Well, theoretically, it could be possible as they were emperor-grade beasts, but their opponent is someone who lived for more than 80,000 years. What are their odds of overwhelmingly winning against such a veteran, who is likely to have extensive battle experience? Mark observed, unable to draw a conclusion. Eyal, in contrast, absorbed every bit of knowledge from the battle. The ladies and other onlookers felt at ease, relieved by the absence of destruction. This sentiment resonated among several VIP guests as well. The lack of chaos brought a collective sense of calm to the spectators. If there is someone who is the most nervous, it is Xin Rui, who is trapped inside the barrier with no way to escape. She could only stand in the corner, trying her best not to end up as collateral damage. After exchanging a barrage of punches, kicks, and energy attacks, the Immortal's face seemed flushed. From the ears to the neck, a shade of red seems to be painted over the region. He was also taking heavy breaths. It looks like the beasts have the upper hand. Anyway, it looks like I will have to act faster before he escapes." Mark came to a conclusion based on the expression the Immortal has as a battle came to a standstill for a few seconds. The 2 demigods, on the other hand, seemed perfectly calm and didn't even break a sweat at all. The frustrated Immortal finally summoned his weapon, an exquisite bow of low-quality divine grade, earning bursts of laughter from the demigod beasts. "Look at this villain summoning an Earth-grade weapon to fight us. No wonder he attempted to rob us. He has the strength but lacks fortune. Of course, he also lacks the personality of an expert. Yeah, he tries to bully weak, but when met with his match, he was taking external support. A pity indeed. The Immortal's frustration only deepened by their mocking comments. "I'll kill you all." His voice echoed throughout the Colosseum, as if a god was decreeing the judgment. Nocthar Verthos, Yulthrin Kirin Vothrindar King Yanchiron. He pulled the string taut, pouring all his strength into it. Between his fingertips, a dark energy materialized, taking shape as he continued chanting in an unfamiliar language. Irithdilos Morkrinthar Shalethos Yandur Amarthar. Vranthir Kalthar Nalthar Kaiwar Yanchiroth Amaranth Kaira. Thilner Shandor Yanchalis Lear Kinthrith Maloth Nithrith Tyr. Yanvelar Krathos Karthalis Kianoltar Yanchilin Thalis. The black energy arrow was almost formed between his fingertips, while the two demigod beasts unleashed double-layered energy barrier-like walls. The Immortal didn't stop and continued. Shaithon Kir Yancharongarith. He was nearly done, about 90% through his spell when, out of nowhere, the ceiling disintegrated into dust. A yellow lightning bolt struck him directly on the head, catching him completely off guard. He turned into ash in an instant, stunning the entire arena into silence. However, it didn't impact the beasts as much as one thought it would did. The power of a saint. "It's the Guardian," the werewolf lord opinioned with a smirk. "What a fool," remarked the Dragon Emperor of Bloodhill, shaking his head. "Showing off immortal realm power and relying on a divine weapon. Lord Yukiang, the Guardian of the Plane, won't let that pass." The Dragon Emperor nodded in agreement with the sentiment. In the stands, the remaining spectators cheered for their saviors. Some guests showed appreciation by clapping, and a few went as far as bowing in gratitude. Others, however, acted like nothing out of the ordinary had occurred. The atmosphere in VIP box number 8, on the other hand, is different. Sylvandria, Eal, and the two teenage supreme beings gazed at Mark in disbelief. While the rest of the audience might be clueless, these four had witnessed the event firsthand. The astonishment lingered in their dazed expressions. However, Mark himself didn't seem like he was pleased by the act. The reason? On the holographic screen, there was a notification from the system. "Ding, you completed the emergency quest, Kill the Intruder. Click to receive the rewards." "Ding, your soul is marked by a God Realm Cultivator. Lu Zhen, you are a saint." Sylvandria couldn't help but ask him in shock. Chapter 502.11, The Grand Auction Part 11. Mark shot a glare, a silent "Are you kidding me?" Sylvandria promptly backtracked, stating, "Of course you're not. Otherwise there wouldn't be drama back in our homeland. Plus, there's no way the Heavenly Palace would allow you to stay in the mortal plane." Her words clarified the situation, retracting the initial doubt. "Heavenly Palace?" Mark looked at her, asking for clarification. The rest stayed curious as Sylvandria explained. "It's a decree from the Heavenly Palace, governing the universe. Saints are forbidden from entering the mortal plane because their existence poses a threat to us. A saint could supposedly end all life on a planet by absorbing its life force." Her words shed light on the gravity of the decree, emphasizing the danger saints represented to mortal life. That's interesting." Mark placed his attention on her to clear the one doubt that's troubling him for the past few minutes. "Say, Sylvandria, why do you think the Immortal couldn't defeat two demigods earlier?" Sylvandria was slightly surprised by his question, but she still answered him, thinking that he was merely questioning her to test her knowledge. "I think the main culprit here are the world laws. Since he is not a native of this world, there's already enough suppression of his attacks. As they were beast emperors, both of them could already hold an immortal on their own. By working together, they blocked the Immortal's attack without a problem. I think they were also worried about killing him, as it would bring unwanted attention from the higher planes. After all, an Immortal will have some powerful force backing them, and such people often leave marks on their killers. If their killers are marked..." Sylvandria stopped talking in the middle of realization and let out a gasp. "You must be marked. Let's return to the Ixodus Empire." There, my successor can perform the ritual to bring the blessings of our God to you and remove the mark. Nah, it is fine. Mark waved his hand and returned his attention to the holographic screen. He clicked on the first notification. Ding, choose the reward. A. Ether versions of pistol, revolver, semi-automatic handgun, shotgun, assault rifle. B. Ether sniper rifle, ether grenade all types, ether grenade launcher. C. Ether machine guns, SMG, LMG, MMG, and HMG. D. Exoskeleton suit, VII. There's nothing to think here. Mark didn't even hesitate a second to choose his reward. System, I choose. Ding, all grades of ether machine guns have been unlocked. Check out the gallery for details. Regardless of what type of machine gun it was, the prices were surprisingly identical. Bronze ether weapon, 100 gold coins. Silver ether weapon, 500 gold coins. Gold ether weapon, 2,500 gold coins. Platinum ether weapon, 250,000 gold coins. Diamond ether weapon, 2,500,000 gold coins. Crystal ether weapon, 10 million gold coins. Ruby ether weapon, 40 million gold coins. Mithril ether weapon, 400 million gold coins. Celestial ether weapon, 16 billion gold coins. God ether weapon, 6,400 billion gold coins. 6.4 trillion. Well, I'm not surprised anymore. System gives me around 100 million credits, 500 million gold coins, for a celestial grade weapon, but buying one cost over 16 billion. Talk about hyperinflation. Ding, System's weapons are absolutely perfect without any flaws. They are 100 or 1,000 times better than any weapon created by any blacksmith. Even the god of blacksmith, Ji, was not a match. Yeah, whatever. Mark was already immune to its bullshit fairness talk every time it shows inflated prices. He felt like buying an army of rank 10 robots would be a better deal compared to buying one ether weapon from a god grade. Unlocking would cost him 50 billion gold coins, and then buying each one would cost 5 billion. Even in a hypothetical scenario of having 6.4 trillion gold coins, which could only be earned by selling the traditional weapons back to the system, Mark could still buy more than 25,000 rank 9 robots, capable of controlling hundreds of worlds with ease. But he cannot reach the apex. On the other hand, the god-grade weapon would let him even kill the deities, but only when the wielder should also be in God's realm. Weaker people cannot flaunt such weapons in front of gods, or else they will only meet a tragic fate. Both of them have their own advantages and disadvantages, but since Mark is not a warrior who wants to challenge the gods but a businessman who wants to spread firearms everywhere he goes, it is clear to him which path is better to take. Furthermore, he already has one god-grade weapon. He just needs to repair it and it will be enough. Anyway, system, seeing how the people bidding for the items, I think from now onwards, you will have to bring up better deals to trade the traditional ether weapons. I hope you are prepared for it. While the spectators and many guests that ran away haven't returned to their seats, the auction resumed on the orders of the Dragon Girl. Ding, the system's offer is always fair, dear host. If the host wants a better deal, then he should prepare weapons of at least celestial grade. Yeah, I will do that. After an hour, while the spectators and many guests that ran away haven't returned to their seats, the auction resumed on the orders of the Dragon Girl. Mark was quite worried about the price reduction of his items due to less competition, but didn't expect the wealthy would become more aggressive instead. The arrival of an immortal only increased their fear of life even more. Rather than some heaven-defying weapon, they needed a life-saving treasure or a loyal bodyguard who doesn't leave their side and at least occupy the enemy's attention while they escape. What's better than a robot that could fulfill those tasks? Battle Robot VII was auctioned as the fourth item with 10 million gold coins as the minimum price. However, the bidding war went on for at least an hour. 440 million. The Imperial Prince of Dragon Empire raised the paddle. He was hell-bent on acquiring this bodyguard. 450 million. The The second competitor in the race was the 17-year-old Lu Zhen. Mark didn't expect his father to possess so much wealth. 460 million. The third and final competitor for this item was a mysterious blonde girl named Lena. No one heard of her, and this was the first time she was also participating in bidding. Surprisingly, she was alone in the VIP box number 33, and her cultivation level only looked like she was in a 5 circle. 520 million. The young prince raised the paddle after taking some time to think. There were another 30-40 seconds of silence before Li Na raised the paddle. 580 million. Lu Zhen didn't raise the paddle for the third time in a row. Has he given up? The spectators wondered. 530 million. The prince didn't give up yet. However, this time, he took more than 2 minutes before raising the paddle. For this last segment, there were 5 minutes of time per bid, once it crossed 100 million. 540 million, 550 million, 560 million, 570 million, 580 million. 590 million. After raising the paddle, the imperial prince further stated, "Miss, this is my final bid." Hundreds of eyes turned toward the lone girl sitting in the VIP box. She appeared to be taking her time and consulting someone. It was at this moment Zin Rui announced, 600 million, box number 19. People were taken aback by the re-entry of Lu Zhen. Li Na's face turned from surprise to anger. She clenched his fist tightly for a couple of seconds before she let out a sigh and shook her head. Chapter 503.12, The Grand Auction Part 12. 5 minutes of silence later. Time's up, 600 million once twice sold. Congratulations, Mr. Lu Zhen, on winning the item number 4, Battle Robot VII. VIP Box No 19. Yes, I probably paid all the inheritance in my name, but it was worth it, mumbled the 17-year-old. According to the rules, I only need to pay 20% amount to keep it reserved for me. I can just sell everything and get the remaining amount. 30 days is enough for such a thing anyway. With that said, let's end my participation here. VIP Box number 8. Yes, it is 600 million. It was sold higher than our expectations, Marky. Song Yue hugged his arm tightly in happiness. It was as if she had forgotten about the intrusion of an immortal. Congratulations. Sylvandria wasn't a materialistic person. Hence, even such a huge amount didn't shake her heart, but at the very least she was happy for her man. I knew it. Shen Ling clenched her fist. My choice is correct, she thought in her head. As for Mark, he was also celebrating like the rest for selling a product 60 times its creation price, but he kept his feelings in his heart and merely smiled. In the eyes of his fiancées, he was only a weapon seller who gets 10-20% commission, not the one who manufactured them. He shouldn't show too much happiness. Zin Rui, on the other hand, couldn't help but sigh in her heart, for she knew what was about to come in a couple of hours and continued with her job. Now on to the next item. Item number 5, Shrouded Infiltrator Attire for Couple. The item minimum price is 1 million gold coins, and the bid raise is 100,000. 13 million once, twice sold. Congratulations, Mr. Qing Jai, on winning item number 5, Shrouded Infiltrator Attire. 49 million once, twice sold. Congratulations, Ms. Li Na, on winning item number 6, Sapphire Moonlight Mirror. 72 million once, twice sold. Congratulations, Ms. Li Na, on winning item number 7, Primordial Azure Phoenix Medallion. 340 million once, twice sold. Congratulations, Mr. Rong Huang, on winning item number 8, Samsara Rebirth Lotus Seed. 26 million once, twice sold. Congratulations, Ms. Li Na, on winning item number 9, Stormweaver's Thunderstruck Gauntlets. 28 million once, twice sold. Congratulations, Ms. Li Na, on winning item number 6, Thousand Petal Blossom Palm. Now for the item number 11. Behold the Seraph Dragon Bow. I have told you before, but I will remind everyone once again. This is a sky-grade weapon. Even if you search the entire world, there will be less than 20 of such weapons. Zhen Rui tried to entice the wealthy bidders to spend even more, as she was hoping to see the bidding cross 200 million once again. But the reality often disappoints your expectations. Half an hour later, 130 million, once twice sold. Congratulations Ms. Li Na on winning item number 10, Seraph Dragon Bow. There was a hint of disappointment in Zhen Rui's voice, but thinking that she already proved enough to sell items of combined worth nearly 1.5 billion gold coins already, she moved on to finish the auction by taking out the next item. Now for the final three. Behold the 12th item of the segment, the Intelligence Augment Pill. She raised her hand above her head to showcase the black-colored oval-shaped pill lying on her palm. This is the one of the final items. The majority had the same thought. Meanwhile, at the Imperial Dragon Palace. Not interested. The acting emperor was seen sitting on his throne in shock, as those two words echoed in his ears over and over. Why? Tang Yifan was frustrated by the rejection from his ancestor, who refused to help him in taking down Mark and others even after he said that the latter killed one of the former emperors. The reason? Well, it wasn't given by the founder of the empire, and just asked him to leave. Tang Yifan wasn't the type to back down. He was one of those types who would become obsessed with achieving the goal at all costs, once decided on it. Furthermore, after receiving the message from his brother about Mark's attendance at the auction, and his rejection of Rong Huang's invitation during the lunch break, Tang Yifan's determination to capture Mark has increased even more. After much thinking, he pulled out the communication scroll from his right sleeve and lit it up before recording his voice message. Supreme Commander Q, I need you to do a job for me. Assassinate the Imperial Sovereign's granddaughter and grandson-in-law and then relay their news of death to him. Make sure that Lu Zhen will take the blame. That will be enough to trigger his rage. Putting away the scroll, Tang Yifan muttered under his breath with a cold gaze. In case his strength wasn't enough, I need to drag that ancestor of mine to the battle. So Lu Zhen should be attacked in the middle of the city. Once there are heavy civilian losses, he will surely be forced to come and battle Lu Zhen's supreme beings. I don't want to do this, but for the sake of the greater good, some sacrifices are necessary. On a small, scorching planet in the plane of fire and ice, a mere 1400 km in radius, the intense heat was only surpassed by the density of natural energy, 3,000 times that of other places. Amidst the fiery landscape, a man engaged in an extraordinary battle with a winged horse that breathed molten lava. The rocky terrain echoed with the clash of elements, heat waves shimmering in the air as rivers of lava flowed, creating a hazardous backdrop. The man seemed less like a warrior and more like someone attempting to forge a connection with the untamed creature. As he faced the lava Pegasus, dozens of fiery threads of energy surged from his palms. Each thread danced in the air, forming a web of energy that sought to ensnare the creature. The battle unfolded like a dance of flames and shadows, the man's movements deliberate and fluid, trying to dominate the wild spirit of the lava Pegasus. The air crackled with the intensity of their encounter. The man, with arrogance etched across his face, gradually began to gain control over the fiery beast. The latter was seen struggling. Now, easy there, Inferno Pegasus. Put your pride aside and be my partner. I'll help you avenge your clan. Nay, the threads of energy wrapped around the creature, as firm restraints, intending to show that there was no way for it to escape. The more it struggled, the more the threads of energy tightened over it. The lava spewing from the Pegasus, wings gradually subsided, replaced with the sign of tiredness. As the lava Pegasus bowed its head to the man, the latter caressed its mane as he said, "Your name will be Pyro henceforth." Nay. Riding on top of the lava Pegasus, the man flew into the sky until he reached a portal with a man in black robes waiting for him. "See, I told you, Ra. I can tame this beast if I put my mind to it," bragged the man. His subordinate responded to his comment with a different topic. "Your Highness received a summoning from the general. It seems our warrior who visited the mortal plane ended up dead." Dead? The man furrowed his brows. How? heavenly thunder, but it was invoked by a mortal who was now marked. Chapter 504.13 The Grand Auction Part 13. Meanwhile, at the auction house, Xin Rui revealed the properties of the pill in her hand. This pill is from a trusted source, but we cannot reveal its origins. However, what we can tell you is that swallowing this pill will raise your cultivation level by 1, permanently. Even a legendary realm warrior will become a supreme realm expert just by swallowing this pill. There will be no wall, side effects, or whatever. But the catch here is that it only works on those professions that work on magic, such as mages, summoners, dungeon creators, etc. The best way of using it is to give this pill to a peak stage legendary realm mage, so that she becomes a supreme being instantly. Please do note that this doesn't work on supreme beings or above realms, not that it is worth mentioning, but still. Anyway, this item without any grade has a minimum price of 100 million gold coins. Each raise is 10 million. Just like every time, the final 3 items have a reserve period of 1 year and a reserve price of 10%. This time, we are reducing the reserve price to a mere 5%. With that said, let the bidding begin. A series of paddles were raised in the air. The guests who weren't actively participating in earlier bids also participated now. Most of them didn't even have the minimum amount, but they were willing to win this, keeping their hopes on the reserved item system of Void Temple. How does this work? Well, the Void Temple will pay the sellers the full amount of the winning bid from their pockets. On the other hand, they will take reserve fees from the winners and keep them in the vault for a period of time. If the winner comes with the remaining amount in time, they get to claim the item. Or else, the amount they paid to reserve the item will be gone into Void Temple as compensation. Then, the item will make its way to the next grand auction. Several times, the bidders fell for this scheme and lost millions, but they kept falling for it, because none of those winners had a weak background. Such people often have the confidence to accomplish difficult feats, which seems absurd to common people. Just like that, the miracle pill of cultivation has garnered tough competition from the guests. Unfortunately, Yu Tianjin, Rong Huang, and Li Na, the ones who spent too much during the previous biddings, were out of the competition. Hence, it didn't go as far as the battle robot VII, but went just close enough to increase Mark's heartbeat. His companions, on the other hand, have no idea about this item. They remained calm. Shen Ling even commented that there's so much economic disparity there in Dragon Empire that she was feeling angry and envious at the same time. 520 million, once twice, sold. Congratulations, Tang Wyman, on winning item number 12, the Intelligence Augmentation Pill. Coming to the second of the final 3, we introduce the Battle Robot VII once again. Its abilities are completely identical to item number 4. Xin Rui shocked the VIPs by taking out the robot once again. Pointing her hand to the robot standing still beside her, she said, "Originally, they were supposed to be sold as a set of 2, but as the unique item that needs evidence of its strength to prove, we had to send one to the challenging round, of course with the consent of its seller. We shall put the minimum price on this item at 100 million, the same as the previous item." VIP Box No 12. FK this lady, the prince couldn't control his anger this time. She made me spend so much on other items. Now I have to spend hundreds of millions on this. What to do? What to do? The earlier item will be enough to satisfy that brother of mine. In fact, I don't need to participate anymore as the next item belongs to our family. But he fell into a dilemma, not being able to decide. In the meantime, the bidding war started among those who were too desperate to win a big item as they had money but couldn't win so far. With 3 major players out of the race and the remaining might focus on the final item, they felt like they should win this penultimate bidding war. In fact, during the next 30 minutes, several meetings happened between these individuals to acquire others' money as a loan. Tang Wyman, in the end, joined the race as it crossed 300 million. This bidding war went the longest. It was already evening 8 by the time the leading bid entered 700 million. Mark was trying his best to control his feelings, but one could see the illusion of gold coins instead of his pupils as he intensely stared at the competition. 840 once, twice sold. Congratulations, Tang Wyman, on winning item number 13, Battle Robot VAI. Yu Tianjin raised his fist in excitement and shouted, "Haha, that's a 200 million loss for you, Prince Tang." He clearly mocked the prince, who looked like his entire life force was just drained from his body. Tang Wyman looked so pale at the moment and he could barely let out a laugh. Hee. Whatever. The money will be retrieved once our item will be sold. Clap. Now the last item of the auction. For this item, she didn't directly take it out of the ring and grab it in her hand. Instead, she placed the ring on the floor and then poured her ether energy into the storage ring. Amid the expectations of the appearance of heaven-grade divine item, celestial grade, an iron box, the size of a jewelry box that has ornaments, appeared on the ground, taking everyone by surprise. It's an unnamed indestructible box. As the name suggests, this box made of unknown material is practically indestructible. Since we lack immortals and above-realm warriors, we are not sure about its durability, but at the very least, not even the strongest combined attack of the Dragon Clan's founder, and those two who you have witnessed earlier, could put a scratch on this box. Another usage of this box is that it is estimated to weigh over 1 billion kilograms. Whether you are fast enough to defend the attacks from your enemies or not, you can still kill the opponents with a slam or a throw. Mark activated his Eye of God in curiosity. What in the... Chapter 505, The Grand Auction Final. Unnamed. Owner NA. Grade NA. Description: this unnamed box was forged by melting down a number of void stones, a unique material that only grows in the banished realm or the void realm at the pace of 1 millimeter every 834,996 years. Due to their nullification properties, the box is nearly indestructible against the attack of any force under 15 circle, Elder God realm. Weakness: the box is weak against forces such as Proto's energy, antimatter, natural energy, pure divine energy, and chaos energy. Contents: it contains one of 2 keys to the Heavenly Palace's treasury. In the battle against the Chaos Lord, the Jade Emperor lost his key to the cosmos, drifting in space for hundreds of millions of years. Effect: the box is immune to attacks and also weighs roughly 1.32 billion kg on the current planet. Ding, you triggered an emergency quest. Quest: acquire the unnamed box and submit it to the system. Reward: Voidstones unlock. M999 minigun, rare material purchase unlock. Upgrade crystals superior. Credit limit increases to 2 billion. A look of surprise appeared on Mark's face. He went into quick analysis. I never heard of the M999 model minigun, but seeing the other rewards, it looks like a high-grade one. Something is indeed fishy. Furthermore, my 189k credit limit is directly increased by 2 million%. With this, the system would no longer charge me high interest, as my loan amount in the future wouldn't go out of credit limit. Perhaps I would anyway. The auction has already started. Let's think about this later and focus on the auction right now. I wonder how high this bid will go. 160 million, 170 million, 180 million, 190 million. 200 million, box number 14, announced Xin Rui. She added, from now onwards the bid raise will be 20 million. Bids please. This was the special privilege of the final item. Its bidding raise amount will change after 200 million, 500 million, and 1 billion. Not that this item will attract such high bid because of its unknown properties and high bids already occurring 4 times already, and forced several big players out of the race. 220 million, 240 million, 260 million, 340 million, 360 million, 380 million. 3 bidders were in the race, which reduced to 2 after 300 million. But it went at a snail's pace. For every bid raised, there was so much discussion happening among the bidder and their respective associates. 440 million, 460 million, 480 million. 500 million, box number 22, Xin Rui made another announcement. From now onwards, the bid raise will be 50 million and the timeout is 10 minutes. Bids, please. VIP box number 14. Lord Mu, I think you should give up. The attendant of Mu Tianlong advised his master, who was about to raise the paddle. Mu Tianlong furrowed his brows in displeasure. But why? Don't you think the elders will find this thing interesting? 550 million gold coins is no joke, Lord Mu, replied the servant. He further explained, to get 400 million, we had to give away a bunch of Earth-grade weapons to the Azure Cloud Pavilion. If this goes any longer, we have to sell more. It is not worth spending much. Just think about it for once. Mu Tianlong, who appeared to be an Exalt Realm cultivator on the surface, fell into deep thoughts. Eventually, he raised the paddle as he said, not a problem, Fu Ruyi. We have more in our clan treasury anyway. If we go empty-handed, my brothers would make fun of me. 550 million, box number 14, Xin Rui announced the bid, taking the remaining bidder by surprise. He didn't have the time to react to the bid raise and Xin Rui made another announcement, almost in just 10 seconds. 600 million, box number 8. Box number 8 became quite famous for winning several battles in challenging rounds and the presence of supreme beings. After the whole intrusion incident, people had actually forgotten about them, many of them thinking that the supreme beings had fled as they could no longer sense their presence. Shen Ling's joining as the bidder for the final item reminded them of her existence. While they were no longer aware of whether the three supreme beings were still there or not, at the very least, they remembered the name, Shen Ling, as she aggressively bid under Mark's instructions without taking too much time. 650 million, 700 million. 750 million, 800 million. Neither Mark nor Mu Tianlong stopped their bidding, even after it reached a record-breaking price. One was doing it to complete the mission, while the other wanted to protect his pride in front of his clansmen. 850 million, 900 million. 950 million, 1 billion. In the end, Mu Tianlong withdrew and let Shen Ling win it, making the unnamed box the costliest item of this auction. Congratulations, Shen Ling, on winning the item for 1 billion gold coins. As Xin Rui announced her as the winner, the imperial prince of the Tang dynasty mumbled, who could have expected that our treasure would end up in his hands of Lu Zhen, of all the people in the world. Since this guy did give a lot of money, worth more than that entire vermilion bird continent, let's do a small favor on my part by not informing this piece of news to eldest brother. He has yet to send any news regarding the founder anyway. Meanwhile, at box number 14, Mu Tianlong's face turned serious as he ordered his servant, Fu Ruyi. It appears that there is something more to this item than it meets the eye. Or else, no one would be so stubborn to acquire it at such a price, and that too, someone from this backward realm. I want it now at all costs. The old man in standard butler robes answered, Lord Mu, it is box number 8, the one with 3 supreme beings. I know, Mu Tianlong nodded, but you have seen their actions earlier. Forget about attacking the Immortal Realm cultivator, even when he suppressed his aura to the demigod realm, but they even suppressed their auras to stay hidden. They were clearly not risk-takers. Put a powerful demigod before them as an opponent and they will voluntarily give it up. Send a message to Elder Wan. But Fu Ruyi tried to convince his master of this crazy idea, but Mu Tianlong looked stubborn as he said, Do it. As you wish, my lord, the butler bowed with a resigned look on his face. A few hours later, past midnight, as the rest of the civilians and tourists were sleeping, at the hotel, Mark was awake in his room and focused on counting his winnings from the auction without being tired or so whatever. The flag of Huangdi that increases my robot army's strength. With Staff of Blessing on the side, my robotic army could become invincible. His eyes then shifted to the inventory slot with a staff. This one only has one use. The Staff of Horus. Grade Diamond. Recommended, Mage Summoner. Description: the weapon is forged with 92% mithril and a myriad of other metals. The core is the goblin's brain. System: activate transmutation. A new holographic screen opened on the side with a huge circle in the middle. He clicked and held on it for a couple of seconds and dragged it to the new window. The item disappeared into specks of light, followed by a notification. Ding, you received 5.94 kg of pure mithril, 516.5 gm of tungsten alloy, 1.6 kg of ether powder, and meat paste of goblin's brain. For a mere 21,000 gold coins, I struck a treasure. Just 1 gram of mithril is worth 100 gold coins in the store. Okay, next item, Scroll of Thousand Blossoms. Grade NA. Recommended anyone. Effects: each petal has incredible healing properties, capable of healing any kind of injury. A 1% probability of reviving the dead when used within 1 hour of death. Description: a one-time painted scroll that unleashes 1,000 petals of mystical cherry blossoms, only grown in the celestial plane of existence. I don't think this one is much useful for me. Let's keep this in inventory and give it to Alan as a gift once his metamorphosis is over. Next. Fan of ephemeral storms. Grade crystal. Recommended anyone. Description: this delicate folding fan possesses the power to summon ephemeral storms. With a flick of the fan, the user can conjure thunder, lightning, and rain, creating a tempest that disorients enemies and bolsters the wielder's agility. This item only has the power to alter weather in the region and doesn't contain either offensive or defensive techniques. This is a good item, useful in a war more than a battle. Well, I can also use this to ambush the enemy boss with a lightning strike. This stays with me. Elixir of Eternal Spring. Grade NA. Recommended anyone. Description: this elixir bestows the drinker with eternal youth and vitality. It halts the aging process and grants resistance to diseases. The amount of elixir is sufficient for 2 people. Please do note that it doesn't change one's lifespan. The elixir can be shared by Shen Ling and Schatz. I guess the ladies will love this item. Sylvandria was once a high priestess. She won't like such a thing, although not like she needed it. Now coming for the unnamed box. He stared at the image of the black box in the inventory and then at the quest and its reward. System, I paid 1 billion to win this box and the key inside it. If I submit this item along with the promised rewards, will you let me have this box too? You can have the key. What do you say? Chapter 506. M999 Minigun. An alliance between the Necromancer King and Supreme Pontiff of the Church of Doom. Mark expected the system to answer him like its proposal was fair, and the money he paid to acquire the item was actually covered by selling the system's items to others by using a loophole. However, it readily accepted the negotiation. Ding, the host's counteroffer is accepted. Now, please proceed to submit the item. Mark's eyes widened by the notification. Seriously, my hypothesis is true then. It was for this key. He doesn't know what the system wants, but since he only profited that night, Mark submitted the box to the system. In return, the system sent him a notification. Ding, the quest has been completed. Please click to receive the rewards. Mark clicked on the notification. Ding, rare material purchase section has been unlocked in the store. Ding, Voidstone has been unlocked. Please check the rare material purchase. Ding, credit limit has been increased to 2 billion. Ding, upgrade crystal superior has been sent to the inventory. Ding, M999 minigun has been sent to the inventory. Ding, the unnamed box will be sent to the inventory in 12 hours. Open inventory. Mark curiously clicked on the Gatling gun image in the inventory. A new window opened with the image of a multi-barrel gun with 1 barrel in the center and 4 layers of barrels around it. Each one is bigger than its inner layer. With 1 in the center, then 6 barrels around it, then 12, then 24, and finally 48. This 91-barrel gun looks quite heavy as well as intimidating. He scrolls down to see its details. M999 minigun. Type rotary machine gun. Grade celestial. Ammo 7.62 x 51 ether energy. Barrels 91. Weight 1466 kg. Length 1801.6. Barrel length 1558.8. Muzzle velocity 3850 meters sec. Effective range 10 km. Accuracy 100%. Absolute range 2000 km. Accuracy 5%. RPM 1000 can be set beforehand. Description: an ultimate rotary machine gun that is capable of destroying enemies within a snap of a finger. Consumption: the rotary machine gun uses the user's ether energy as its power source. It consumes 1000 ether energy points per every second. Active skills: ether bullets. The user could charge the rotary machine gun with ether energy and use energy bullets in place of 7.62x51 ammo. Each bullet fired from one barrel has the power to eliminate any target under the 12-circle realm under the right conditions. Multiple ether bullets could eliminate higher-level targets. Cost: 10 million ether points per one round. CD: none. Elemental bomb. The rotary machine gun will fire an ether bomb imbued with one of the basic elements and fire at the enemy. The targets that were hit will face the aftereffects of the element accordingly, i.e. burn, fire, gust, wind, paralyze, lightning, imprison, earth, wave, water, blind, light, life, steel, dark. Cost: none. CD: 10 seconds. Ether warhead. The rotary machine gun will fire a lengthy but thin warhead of ether energy from its central barrel with 160% attack power, max 12.9. Cost: 100 million ether points EP. CD: 5 minutes. Spiral wave. After getting charged for 5 seconds, the rotary machine gun fires a spiral energy wave that will disrupt the senses of the targets. Note: the time of effectiveness depends on the target's cultivation level. Cost: 100 million EP. CD: 180 seconds. Super beam. The rotary machine gun will be charged for 10 seconds and create a concentrated beam of energy to shoot at the enemy with 230% attack power, max 13.9. Cost: 50% of maximum ether energy. CD: 30 minutes. Merge. The machine gun could become one with the user by attaching itself to the user's body, transforming into a piece of armor on his upper body, smaller multi-barrel weapons on both arms as well as above the shoulders, scope on one of his eyes, metallic wings with multi-barrel cannons on the back. Note: in this mode the user could only use the ether bullet skill. Cost: 5% ether energy per second. CD: 60 minutes. Passive skills. All mount. The machine gun can be mounted on any kind of surface, soft or hard, flat or irregular, at any angle, as long as there is enough space. It can even be mounted in an inverted position. Durability. The machine gun is durable enough to block attacks with less power than peak 12 circle. Damn, the celestial grade weapon should be like this. The exoskeleton's firepower can't even hold against this weapon. I guess it is because this one is just a weapon and that is a nano suit. This one is super awesome, better than even the Sword of Light, the celestial grade sword I stole from Emperor Shun's spirit. If a celestial grade machine gun could do this much, I wonder how amazing the god grade weapons created by the system going to be. Now that I think about it, haven't I unlocked machine guns as the reward for killing that Immortal? I could create such caliber weapons with a snap of a finger. Well, unfortunately, their high price tag will make those two top-grade weapons almost impossible to sell, but I guess mithril-grade ones might sell well if I promote them properly. After all, they were also considered divine weapons. Anyway, enough about the machine guns. Let's check the others. First battle robot was purchased for 600 million. Second battle robot was purchased for 840 million. The intelligence pill was purchased for 520 million. Overall, 1960 million. They reduced 98 million 5% as their cut. Deducting 1 billion for the box, I received 862 million gold coins. That's about 172 million credits. Anyway, let's first pay off the debts. Ding, 120 million gold coins were deducted from the account. Ding, as the debt was being closed, the accumulated interest of 2.21 million gold coins was also deducted from the account. Accumulated interest, my butt. Mark's pleasant mood soured with that second notification. He couldn't help but scoff at it. It's only been a little more than a week since I unlocked the rank 8 battle robot and then bought one. Yet, the system charged me 2 weeks' worth of interest for those two. The second one, which was only created a few hours ago, was also charged 1 week's worth of interest. Black-hearted system. Ding, the system is always fair. The interest isn't charged on a daily basis, but weekly basis. The host was already reminded beforehand. Yeah, I know that. Can't you at least let me let out this steam a bit? Ding, the host can but cannot aim comments on the system's actions without giving proper reasoning. You never lose any opportunity to display your sassiness, aren't you? Mark knew that he would only lose an argument with the system. Hence, after throwing a comment, he shifted his attention to the purchases. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, at Vermilion Bird Continent, in the majestic Tower of Doom, located in a remote location of the Western Moon Kingdom, the leader of the Church of Doom was seen meditating in a dark chamber. His body is constantly leaking scarlet aura, almost terrifying his subordinates resting on the upper floors. Everyone was also in closed-door training ever since their leader returned with unstable demigod realm cultivation, and ordered them to increase their strength for the war he was going to launch, after the whole fiasco at the battle for the Fire Seed. But their leader's aura became too strong that they couldn't concentrate at all. If anything, it was giving them sleepless nights. They wanted to run away from the tower, but they couldn't do so. In such a situation, what is the best thing they need? A formidable enemy at the doorstep. Yup, they want an enemy to distract their leader, to give them a momentary rest of peace. Fun fact, there are several in the organization that have had the same thought for the past several weeks, but no one is just voicing out their opinion. Considering the fact that their base is also in the enemy territory and the news of Mark's return has already reached them, they were expecting an attack on the tower at any time. They were safe as long as they stayed inside the tower. So, they weren't scared of Mark, his robotic army, or his supreme being servant. Little did they know that someone formidable would knock on the door of the tower, right on this day, when their leader's aura leaking is at its peak. The entire tower shook as if there was an earthquake, forcing the organization's leader to come out of his meditation and go out in anger. There he saw a stranger standing on the head of a peak 9 circle realm, undead dragon with a woman with no life force sitting on its back. Who are you? Yan Hai furrowed his brows in extreme displeasure. It wasn't the Zheng as he expected. The stranger crackled into laughter. Ha, I knew it. It was you, the third demigod. I thought it was the Lord of the Bloodhill until now. But then again, it is interesting to see someone with so many attributes. Get to the matter, stranger, or else. Yan Hai grew impatient. He wanted to go there and kill the one that disturbed him, but he had to face 2 supreme beings. One of them was even tougher to destroy because it was already dead. And then, there's this girl on the undead dragon. He cannot even sense anything. Of course, he was confident about taking them on but wasn't sure if he could kill them in a short time. Hence, he gave them the chance to explain themselves. The Necromancer King then replied, "Don't need to be alarmed, Supreme Pontiff Yan. I'm not an enemy. I'm here to form an alliance." Alliance? Yan Hai was taken aback. The Necromancer King explained, "You need to resurrect your founder, but the Zheng will be your biggest hurdle. Now that the Zheng and its master moved to this land, it became next to impossible. You have to take it down at all costs. I will help you." "How do you?" Yan Hai's eyes widened once again. He controlled his expression and asked, "What do you expect?" The Necromancer King answered, "In return, the heads of the living direct descendants of the Shang dynasty and the 6 ancient major clans are my prize. As for the land, I merely need the imperial city and the entire region between the city and the Bloodhill Forest. Your organization can have the rest of the empire's land. I don't care." There was a deafening silence for the next half a minute as Yan Hai was thinking about the advantages and disadvantages of this deal. The Necromancer King patiently waited. Eventually, Yan Hai opened his mouth. "Your proposal is good, but you got one thing wrong. I don't want to kill the Zheng. We need to capture it and give our founder as the present. You look strong, but your strength won't be enough to accomplish this task. Oh, is that so? The Necromancer King's smile only widened further for some reason. Then, it is even easier. Your goal will be achieved as long as you can get me a beast emperor with supreme being cultivation. Luckily for us, there is one at the Western Yan. Chapter 507, Using all the winnings for upgrades. After settling the debt with the system, Mark had roughly a little over 859 million gold coins in his account. He decided to convert most of it. System, exchange 800 million gold coins with credits, he said. Ding, 800 million gold coins will be exchanged for 160 million credits. Confirm. Yes. Ding, 800 million gold coins are deducted. Ding, 160 million credits are added to the account. Good, now unlock battle robots of rank 6 and Ding, 240,000 credits are deducted from the account. Rank 6 battle robots are now unlocked. Ding, 1,600,000 credits are deducted from the account. Rank 7 battle robots are now unlocked. And what's next? Yup, that's right, system, open inventory. He scrolled to the right until he found the image of a battle tank in one of the slots. He clicked on it to see the details. Battle Tankai. Grade NA. Length 4.5 meters. Width 2 meters. Height 1.5 meters. Weight 50 kilograms. Elevation aiming angle to 30 degrees. Primary weapon, assault rifle. Secondary weapons, none. Additional attachments, none. Maximum speed, 30 km/h. Cruising range, 150 km fuel-based. Maximum firing range, 500 meters. Autoload, manual loading is required. Accuracy, 70% up to 100 meters, 30% from 100 meters to 200 km, 10% from 200 meters to 500 meters. Description: Battle Tankai is a humble and budget-friendly armored vehicle designed for simple tasks and basic reconnaissance. With minimal firepower and mobility, it is suitable for training exercises and low-intensity conflicts. Skills none. Upgrade 1,000 credits. Expected it, so no complaints. But the fact that it automatically comes with an assault rifle means that it can still do damage to 3 Circle Realm Spirit Warriors. Anyway, let's see how strong it could become after a few upgrades. Ding, 1,000 credits are deducted. Battle Tankai is upgraded to Battle Tankai. Ding, 4,000 credits are deducted. Battle Tankai is upgraded to Battle Tankai. Ding, 20,000 credits are deducted. Battle Tankai is upgraded to Battle Tankai V. Ding, 120k credits are deducted. Battle Tankai V is upgraded to Battle Tank V. After upgrading it to Platinum grade, Mark took a good look at its details. A smile appeared on his face, seeing a familiar-looking tank with familiar skills and features. It was the first battle tank he used in this world. Battle Tank V had to be sacrificed as a part of the deal, but seeing it again made him remember how he took down the Song clan and hurt the arrogance of these major nobles, who crushed the commoners on a daily basis. He remembered how he used it to take down the Beast King, Cerberus, and how it went on to become the key factor in developing a friendship with his righteous half-brother, Shang Wen, who is currently missing. Of course, that doesn't mean he will continue to use it. That kind of battle tank is no longer helpful to Mark. After going into memory lane for a brief amount of time, Mark continued with the upgrade. Ding, 840k credits are deducted. Battle Tank V is upgraded to Battle Tank VI. Ding, 6,720,000 credits are deducted. Battle Tank VI is upgraded to Battle Tank VII. He could go with one more upgrade, but since there is the missile defense system he intended to upgrade later, Mark managed to hold down his urge and stopped it. But the details of this semi-divine armored vehicle surprised him quite a bit, exceeding his expectations. Man, its range is damn high. Not even missile defense system is a match. Battle Tank VI. Grade Crystal. Length 14 meters. Width 5.5 meters. Tunnel roof 3.5 meters. Weight 124,000 kilograms, approx. Elevation aiming angle -20 to 90 degrees. Primary weapon 120 smoothbore ether cannon. Secondary weapons quad-barrel 20 Gatling gun, anti-air missile launcher. Additional attachments advanced adaptive camouflage, energy shield generator, tactical AI integration. Maximum speed 250 km/h. Cruising range unlimited ether energy as fuel. Maximum firing range 500 km. Autoload automated loading system for all weapons. Accuracy 100% up to 50 km, 90% from 50 km to 100 km, 50% from 100 km to 200 km, 10% from 200 km to 500 km. Description: Battle Tank VII is a marvel of technological superiority and celestial craftsmanship. Boasting unparalleled firepower, impenetrable defenses, and cutting-edge features, this tank is a symbol of awe and fear on the battlefield. It is also durable enough to block every attack under 8 circle. Upgrade. Skills. Active. Celestial Annihilation. Unleash devastating energy burst from the smoothbore ether cannon with 200% attack power, max 10.9, obliterating everything in a designated area. Cost 80% of maximum ether energy. CD 60 minutes. Shield of Immortality. Erect an impervious energy shield around the battle tank, rendering it immune to all forms of attack for 30 seconds, max 9.9. Cost 50% of maximum ether energy. CD none. Celestial Wisdom AI. Engage the tactical AI for unparalleled battlefield awareness, target prioritization, and strategic decision-making. It will go into auto-battle mode. Cost 5% of maximum ether energy per second. Camouflage, disappear into the surroundings and become invisible. During this state, it could also attack the enemies. Cost 10% ether energy per second. Ether Missile. Shoot an ether missile from the missile launcher at enemies with 130% attack power, max 9.9. Note that this ether missile only travels in a straight line regardless of aiming angle. Cost 30% ether energy. CD 60 seconds. Ether Bullet Barrage. Shoot a barrage of ether bullets from the quadrubarrel Gatling gun with an attack power of 50%. Cost 10% ether energy per 100 rounds. CD 180 seconds. Passive none. It might be crystal grade, but its capabilities exceeded other crystal grade, like for example, my attack helicopter. Perhaps it is why it gobbled up so many credits for the upgrade. After all, with the same number of credits, I upgrade the missile defense system to ruby grade. Anyway, let's put this away and proceed with the upgrade of MDS. He closed down the window and went on to click on the missile defense system to display its details on a new holographic screen. He directly scrolled down to the bottom of the screen and clicked on the upgrade without thinking much. Ding, 60,480,000 credits are deducted. Ding, Missile Defense System VII has been upgraded to Missile Defense System VII. Mark expected the upgrade of the defense system, but when he saw the result, it felt like the defense system had a complete makeover. If it was a creature, one would call it an evolution instead of a mere upgrade. But it came with obvious drawbacks too, as it no longer had the option to fire missiles with below-par power for an army of weak enemy soldiers. Missile Defense System, VII bound. Grade Mithril Max, God. Weapon Type, Mounted. Missile Type, X4. Launchers Type 4. Number of missiles, 100. Missile length, 3 meters. Missile weight, 500 kg. Warhead type, fragmentation. Max range of fire, 600 km, 100% accuracy. Absolute range, 2000 km, 20% accuracy. Max speed of missile, Mach 6.9. Target lock, yes, only ether attacks. Blast radius, 1350 meters. Storage chamber, yes. Description: a missile defense system that can be used as an offense or defense, according to the situation. Moving at hypersonic speed, X4 could potentially obliterate all targets below the 9 circle in the blink of an eye. Upgrade 6,048 million credits. Skills: active. Single target ether missile. Shoot a concentrated beam of ether energy from the launcher with an attack power of peak 9 circle. Cost: 200 million EP ether points. CD: 5 seconds. Multi-target ether missile. Shoot down a wide area with 100 concentrated beams of ether energy from the launcher one after another, with each containing 130% attack power of the user. Max stat: 11.9. Note: the range should be selected beforehand. Cost: 30% ether energy. CD: 180 seconds. All-out attack. Obliterate the enemy by either releasing 100 ether missiles, one from each barrel with an attack power of 100% at the same time, or combine their power to release a powerful beam of energy with an attack power of 200% of the user. Max stat: 12.9. Cost: 50% of maximum ether energy. CD: 0 seconds. Invincible dome. Create an invincible barrier with a maximum of 500 meters of radius and block all types of attacks as long as they don't exceed stat 11.9. Cost: 10% of maximum ether energy per second. CD: 0 seconds. Robot mode. The missile defense system shall transform its body into a humanoid battle robot while retaining its weapons but not the skill set. Note: in this mode, the missile defense system will be operated by AI and will no longer have to be controlled by the user. Passive. Auto attack deactivated. When the defensive mode is switched on, the missile defense system will automatically use the missiles in the storage chamber and intercept all types of attacks that are aimed at its owner. Cost: none. CD: 0 seconds. Mark couldn't help but let out a sigh. Sometimes, being too strong will actually make your job tougher to deal with weak opponents, as one mistake will end their life for good, and the chances of collateral damage will always be quite high. As a result, whether it is a weapon or underlings, they can only be used against the bosses. Anyway, there's still something else left to do. After closing down the details screen and the inventory, Mark spoke. System: open the skills section. Ding: attribute skills or general skills. System skills, please. A list of various overpowered skills appeared before his eyes. He scrolled down until he found the one he wanted to upgrade. Enhanced durability, level 1. Increase the user's body durability to receive less incoming damage of all types except for mental attacks. Effect: 1% doctor. Limit: opponents who are no greater than 2 ranks realms above the user. He clicked on the level. The option of upgrading came up. Upgrade to level 2, 1 million credits. Okay, let's do this. Ding: 1 million credits are deducted. Ding: enhanced durability is increased to level 2. Let's continue. Ding: enhanced durability is increased to level 3. Ding: enhanced durability is increased to level 4. Ding: enhanced durability is increased to level 10. Oh, there was no cost increase. I thought the cost would increase eventually. Well, let's purchase until I see the increase. And so, the upgrade of the passive skill continued. Ding: enhanced durability is increased to level 20. Ding: enhanced durability is increased to level 30. Ding: enhanced durability is increased to level 40. Ding: enhanced durability is increased to level 90. Ding: enhanced durability is increased to level 91. By the time it reached level 91, he was only left with roughly more than 310,000 credits in his account. But Mark was interested to max it out, in order to be invincible under Saint Realm. He had the offensive strength to deal with immortals, and he also had the necessary techniques to defend against them too. However, this is for that unexpected ambush from those beings. Until now, he only played the arrogance of demigods and immortals against them. But after receiving a saint's mark, he wanted to be more careful, just in case. While he wiped away the mark with a purification stone, Mark knew that it wouldn't stop the enemies from coming to this planet and wreaking havoc. He had to be well prepared. Being confident to earn lots of money once again, Mark once again exchanged the gold coins. Ding, 45 million gold coins are deducted. Ding, 9 million credits are added to the account. Well, let's continue. Ding, enhanced durability is increased to level 92. Ding, enhanced durability is increased to level 93. Ding, enhanced durability is increased to level 99. It reached the maximum level. It can no longer be upgraded anymore. Enhanced durability, level 99. Increase the user's body durability to receive less incoming damage of all types except for mental attacks. Effect, 99% Doctor. Limit, opponents who are no greater than 2 ranks realms above the user. Ding, you reach the maximum level. The evolution has been triggered. Ding, do you wish for your body to evolve into a divine physique? Divine physique. The body of a mortal cannot cross the limits of Saint Realm, 12 Circle, no matter what bloodline or talent it has. The divine physique will increase the potential to 14 Circle. Note, evolving into divine physique requires 1 billion credits. Note 2. Evolving into a divine physique while preserving the attributes, skills, bloodlines, items, and everything the user owns at the moment requires careful modification on a cellular level. Hence, the user will go into a comatose state for a period of at least 6 months to a maximum of 2 years. Note 3. Evolution gives the opportunity to the host to reconstruct his body and have the appearance of any individual he wishes. Ooh, no thanks. Mark rejected it right away. He didn't even need to think deeply, despite the temptation of regaining his face from the previous world. Thanks for the offer, but I like my current self. No need for the evolution. On the dawn of the following day, Mark and his companions checked out of their rooms to return home. Qingjai was tagging along with them as part of the deal. Originally, the plan was to split into 2 groups. One would return to Lunaris, while the other would leave for the Zizhai Empire. But upon witnessing the battle between the Immortal and the demigod beasts, Mark decided not to take any chance. Why? From what he gathered so far from the dead bodies of the mercenaries killed by Song Yun before he sacrificed himself for his daughter, Mark knew that they were related to the Dragon Empire. Hence, from the start, he planned on using the guilds located in the capital city to issue a secret investigation on those 2 5-Circle Realm experts who died at Western Moon. He wanted to find out who they were connected with. He expected the dead bodies to have connections with certain guilds or organizations, or perhaps even a noble, but didn't expect it to be a knight that served the imperial family. And those 2 demigod beasts are sided with the Void Temple, or more likely, the Tang dynasty. Hence, the plan changed to return directly home. After calling back Zheng to guard his loved ones, he and Steve will travel to the Baize Empire's capital with Qingjai to talk with the Crown Prince, drop his partner at his home, and return to the Dragon Empire once again to settle the matter. He summoned the Divine Throne from his inventory, which appeared in the form of the scary-looking spider ship. While Mark's companions didn't have any reactions, Qingjai, who was witnessing it for the first time, couldn't help but express his astonishment. Wow, I only heard the description of its appearance from the manager, but experiencing it in person is something else. Thanks, let's get in. As the door opened, Mark told the others to board the ship, and they were about to do that too, but their movements were halted just after a few steps, due to the sudden appearance of a scarlet barrier covering the sky above the hotel's compound. Mark raised his head with a frown on his face. Chapter 508, Fu Sheng, the Imperial Sovereign of Dragon Empire. The barrier that imprisoned the hotel and its immediate surroundings looked exactly similar to that of the one used against the Immortal, although quite weaker. Is it those demigod beasts or is it someone else? Mark couldn't help but wonder. At the very least, he was sure that he was likely the target, but was it for the items or something else? It's another question that needs to be solved. His suspicions soon came to an end as the perpetrators came forward. They made quite an entry. A portal appeared out of nowhere, and golden-armored knights started walking out of it in an orderly fashion. They were roughly around 100 in number, and each of their cultivation is at 6 circle realm. Qingjai was filled with nervousness as he saw them. It's the Gold Dragon Knights division. Do you know them? Mark asked after hearing that. While there has never been an empire in the rest of the continents with such a powerful army, they still don't seem strong to Mark. Just Sylvandria is enough to wipe them out. Is there a need to have such a reaction? He wondered. Qingjai answered with an explanation. The Dragon Empire's knights were divided into 4 divisions: White Dragon, Blue Dragon, Black Dragon, and the Red Dragon. Above those, there is a special division that solely serves the imperial sovereign, the highest-ranked military officer, and also the one who had the same status as the emperor since ancient times. Well, not in a literal sense. The emperor can still order the imperial sovereign. It is like, if the emperor is the symbol of authority, the imperial sovereign is considered the symbol of power. Except during wartime, or to crush a rebellion from one of the vassal states, the entire Gold Dragon Knight division was never deployed before. The Gold Dragon Knights were here, meaning the imperial sovereign must be arriving. Is he a demigod? Mark asked a simple question after hearing all that bullshit. Qingjai shook his head. No, he isn't. He is a supreme being, but it is said that he possessed one of the 5 heaven-grade weapons that exist in the world. And guess what? Its rank is listed as 2nd. After conversing with Mark for the past few days, he already realized that Mark might have power, wealth, and background, but with minuscule knowledge of the world outside the Vermilion Bird continent. In his view, Mark was like a giant dragon quietly sleeping in its mountains ever since its birth, and just decided to explore the world. Hence, he didn't try to give half-baked information. As the last disciple of the Empire's founder, the current imperial sovereign is said to be powerful enough to fight on equal footing with a demigod. His knights were also said to be strongest among their peers. And then, their ancient 100-knight formation, which was used several times in the past to subdue raging dragons. The members of the royal family literally had the blood of dragons, you know. It was different from bloodlines. Because of the beast nature from time to time, because of extreme negative emotions, they would go into a rage. Heaven-grade weapon. Mark quickly compared it with system grades and his eyes lit up. A celestial-grade weapon. I bet it will fetch a nice price. Now, I really pray that he becomes my enemy. Of all the things said by Qingjai, only the weapon's grade attracted Mark's attention. As for the person, Mark couldn't care less. With 3 supreme beings on the side, he wasn't even remotely worried about Song Yue or Shen Ling, and just purely focused on the enemy. As the 100 of those knights split into 2 groups and moved aside, a few more knights arrived and stood in the front. These were a bunch of 7 Circle Realm experts. Finally, a young man wearing a full armor set of high-quality semi-divine grade stepped out of the portal, followed by 2 8 Circle Realm spirit warriors. Sylvandria's face turned serious as she commented in a low tone, "It's a demigod, Lu Zhen." Qingjai's face turned pale as he heard her words. He made a breakthrough. His entire body started shaking from up and down. However, Mark wasn't worried. Demigods are a concern of the past. But the safety of his companions, especially Song Yue and Shen Ling, should be something he needed to consider. Mark activated his God's Eye to inspect the details of the young man on the front, confirming Sylvandria's statement. He was baffled when he spotted a specific detail and his lips curled up. A disciple of Land Sect. First, Xin Rui of the Void Temple and now him. Nah, this one is a direct disciple of the ancient Land Sect. It's different. Either way, it doesn't matter. Anyone who stands against me shall be facing consequences. Meanwhile, the imperial sovereign of the Dragon Empire was seen walking toward Mark in steady steps, and with a calm gaze on everyone, increasing Qingjai's nervousness, and making him move back a few steps and stand a bit closer to Steve and James, rather than Mark, whose cultivation level is still a mystery. Once the three of them crossed the other knights standing like statues, the latter also moved along until they reached Mark. Mark was ready to transform the spider ship back to its original form, so that his rank got promoted by 2 temporarily and surprised the other party. Imagine his surprise when the supposed enemy, a demigod that stands on the summit of this world, suddenly falls down with his right knee touching the ground and greets him by cupping his fists like a subordinate. Disciple Fu Sheng greets the young master. At once, the entire place was frozen in shock. Mark's companions, the 2 Eight-Circle Realm generals, the Gold Dragon Knights, and the mage that erected the barrier and currently watching the scene in hiding, everyone who witnessed it was stunned by the sudden development. In a couple of seconds, all the knights had their right knee touch the ground with their heads bowed down. Mark silently stared at him for 10 seconds before opening his mouth. "How did you find out?" "Your mother was here," replied the young-looking century-old man in calmness after getting up. His subordinates followed suit. Mark's facial expression changed all of a sudden. The imperial sovereign saw extreme coldness in Mark's eyes as the latter asked, "Is your allegiance with that shameless woman that kept on claiming to be my mother?" The hatred in Mark's heart erupted for no reason, and he didn't even hesitate to speak such disrespectful words for the woman who gave him birth, although abandoned him. However, the imperial sovereign was calm. He shook his head. "No, I'm not in allegiance with her." As Mark calmed down a bit, Fu Sheng continued, "A few days ago, Elder Lan Jiang was here to meet me to convince me to join him in returning to our homeland. Coincidentally, our meeting was disrupted by Lady Lan. It was then I found out about your existence. Now that I have seen you in person, I'm feeling as if Patriarch Lan returned to life." While Mark no longer seemed angry, the frown had yet to disappear from his face. "If you want to meet me, why do you need to make such an entry? You could meet me in private." Fu Sheng's jaw clenched, his usually warm expression replaced by a stern mask. His gaze turned steely as he spoke. "My daughter's impostor and her husband met a cruel fate at the hands of hired assassins, orchestrated by the imperial family. You, my friend, were unfairly framed for those murders." He paused, a heavy sigh escaping him. "The acting emperor, seeking vengeance for the late emperor, believes you're the culprit. Yet, as the imperial sovereign, I'm bound by an oath to serve the emperor. It's a duty I can't rebel against, but my heart no longer bears allegiance to this empire." With a determined look, he continued, "Before I depart from this place, I must make a resolute statement. The empire must realize the truth and dare not act against you." He knelt once again on the ground this time, both of his knees touching it. "Whatever the young master wishes, I, Fu Sheng, and my knights will follow from this moment. We will shed our blood for you, and we will shed the blood of your enemies on your order. All I desire is to return home with my daughter and my grandson." Ding! As soon as Fu Sheng was done with his explanation, the familiar sound of notification was heard in Mark's ears. "Oh boy, I don't know if I'm lucky that I got a strong subordinate out of nowhere or unlucky that I can't claim the celestial grade weapon," Mark sighed inwardly. Chapter 509, Act on Impulse or Be Rational. Ding, you received a side quest, helping the subordinate. Description: Fu Sheng, a direct disciple of the ancient Lan sect, followed Lan Jiangxin and the others as they were expelled from the Lan clan. Due to differences, he might have later left Kunyu's Lan sect and joined the Dragon Empire's military, climbed the ranks, and eventually became the imperial sovereign. Now, he wishes to swear his loyalty to the host in the hopes of returning to his home. Help your subordinate. Reward: Dimensional Portal Function. Accept. Dimensional portal, what is it? He thought in his head. The system answered him without even being asked. Ding, Dimension Portal. Through this function, the host and his allies can freely teleport between store branches no matter where they are located. It looks like I ought to accept his request. But then again, I've already decided on following Lan Jiang to the ancient Lan sect, once my plans succeed on this planet. While I have yet to complete even one of them so far, they will be done soon enough. Ding, the quest has been accepted. After accepting the quest, Mark asked the imperial sovereign, Fu Sheng, to prove his loyalty by bringing the knight named Dong Bao to him, through whatever means. The demigod was given time until noon. Meanwhile, the divine throne was sent back to the inventory, and Mark and the others continued their stay at the hotel. Even though a demigod put away his pride and sincerely kneeled before him, Mark doesn't trust him or his knights. He merely gave him a few hours of time as a benefit of the doubt. In the worst case, he would either summon the divine throne or the demon king. After killing the Immortal from the other world, Mark already gained enough soul points to summon Baal at any time. With absolute control skill, he would keep the demon under control and make sure his loved ones stay protected. Of course, the news of him controlling an immortal demon will bring his reputation down to so low that no one would buy weapons from him anymore. But if this goes in his favor, then he would gain enough manpower to lay a strong groundwork for what he was about to do. Despite them being powerful enough to take over an empire, there are a few tasks that he doesn't want to give to his robotic army, his androids, his teenage sons from the future, or even to his tough-to-handle, mighty elven fiancé. He just returned to the room he previously stayed in, and it hadn't even 10 minutes since he closed the door. A hotel staff member hurriedly arrived there with a message from the lounge. Mark at first was surprised, but then felt like, oh, yes, it shouldn't be a big deal for someone like Fu Sheng to drag down a mere knight like Dong Bao, even if it is from the emperor, now that the current ruler is just a temporary one. And upon going to the lounge, Mark found Fu Sheng with not just his target who was in an unconscious state, but also the acting emperor, who was alone without any guards. "I apologize, young master. His Majesty insisted on coming along to see you," Fu Sheng bowed to Mark. Tang Yifan was stunned by how the imperial sovereign of the empire was treating Mark with great respect, something not even his father earned the privilege. He couldn't help but clench his fist to control his anger, remembering their piece of conversation happened just a few minutes ago. Mark nodded to Fu Sheng and turned his head to calmly look at the young emperor. "So, what do I owe this pleasure, Emperor Tang? Is it about him?" He first pointed his finger at the unconscious knight on the floor and then shifted toward Fu Sheng. "Or is it about him?" Maintaining his fists tightly, Tang Yifan replied as calmly as possible. "I'm just here to inform you that the Dragon Empire has nothing to do with the death of your father-in-law. You can have his head if you want." "And how do you know that I was looking for the perpetrator of his death? I didn't even tell Mr. Fu about it." Mark's eyebrow raised, and his tone slightly turned into interrogative. Tang Yifan looked straight into his eyes and stated, "I know it because it was my men who killed Song Yun, although their original target should have been Princess Shen Ling." "Princess Shen Ling, not Song Yue." Mark furrowed his brows as he was mixed with confusion and displeasure. "At first, I thought you were a sensible person, but it looks like you are a condescending man, Tang Yifan." Mark was so offended by Tang Yifan's admission of truth to his face that he stopped addressing him with his title anymore. And that is considered disrespectful anywhere on the planet. Calling a king or an emperor by his name directly is the same as insulting the land and all the people he was ruling. Well, at least, it has been considered that way for a long time. Tang Yifan certainly was offended by the change in Mark's tone too. However, he didn't lose his cool and continued to speak. "An eye for an eye, Lu Zhen. You killed the former emperor of our land and my ancestor. You ought to pay consequences for that." Despite the tension in the air, Tang Yifan maintained a composed demeanor. His voice, though firm, echoed reason rather than anger. "Princess Shen Ling is your direct connection to the Western Moon Kingdom, and killing her will end it for good." He glanced around the room, assessing the reactions of those present. His strategic mind was at work, carefully calculating the next moves. Tang Yifan's eyes then shifted to Lu Zhen, searching for any hint of vulnerability. He continued, "King Shen Niu would blame you for his daughter's death, and since he didn't have the power, he will aim to bring you pain by targeting Lady Song. Whatever the result will be, you will probably destroy him and either occupy his kingdom or destroy it in rage. To give him justice, the neighboring empires will mobilize troops, which will be soundly defeated, resulting in a declaration of a formal war. It would have allowed us to formally declare you as an evil being and mobilize Void Temple. Phoenix Empire and Leon Empire will obviously support us, as one will get back its region that was taken away, and the other will be offered the Western Moon Kingdom. As the one who brought you to justice, I will no longer be the acting emperor. Instead, I will formally be ascended to the Emperor of Tang Dynasty. The gravity of the situation hung in the air. Tang Yifen's words didn't seem like a declaration. They were a meticulously crafted strategy, each sentence a move in the intricate game of power. With a steely resolve displayed on his face, the young man ended his explanation with an acceptance of some sort of defeat. Well, my plan clearly didn't end well due to their disobedience of my order, and working together with some other gang that targeted Lady Song, resulting in her father's death and bringing you to the shores of this land, and even stealing away our strongest asset. Mark stared at him for the next few seconds in silence, processing all the information. He raised both of his hands, making Fu Sheng wonder whether he was going to attack. Meanwhile, Tang Yifen looked completely calm on the surface, as if he wasn't afraid of death. Even in his heart, apart from the frustration that Fu Sheng joined his enemy as soon as making a breakthrough, there was no fear or anything else. However, Mark's response turned out to be different than their expectations. Clap, 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 clap. Suddenly, Mark started clapping without displaying his anger. What an ingenious plan. Did you plan all this by yourself, or did your advisor tell you to do it? Whatever you had in mind was quite great, but I still don't understand something. What makes you so sure that I won't act against you right now? As you have said, you are nothing more than an acting emperor. If you die, you can be replaced by another prince. Does the Void Temple or your founder will act against me even after knowing that there are at least 3 supreme beings and a demigod on my side? Or do you think some hidden life-saving treasure on you would save you? I truly wonder about the thing that gives you confidence in coming here alone. No, they won't. Tang Yifen shook his head. After a brief pause, he then let out a smirk, but that's only if I'm the acting emperor. What do you mean by that? Fu Sheng couldn't help but interrupt their conversation, feeling strange about his state. Tang Yifen turned his head to look at Fu Sheng and summoned an exquisite bow in his hands, taking the demigod by surprise. As the present of your retirement, Imperial Sovereign Fu, I will give you the news before making the announcement to the people. A few minutes ago, my father's soul left for the spirit realm. Regardless of how it happened, the celestial dragon spirit acknowledged me as its wielder. You know what this means. Bound by the laws stated in the Empire's constitution, I'm no longer an acting ruler. I'm the true emperor of the Tang dynasty. By now, the Void Temple's founder and our Tang dynasty probably have already sensed the change. He then turned his head to look at Mark. This time, his words carried a weight that resonated with authority. Any unjust attack on me will set the same motion as my original plan, Lu Zhen. That is the source of my confidence. So, what will you do now? Act on impulse to lose everything, or be rational and shift your focus on catching the real culprit. Chapter 510, Schemes in the Shadows. After a long silence, Mark gave his reply to Tang Yifen, who seemed to be prepared for anything. All right, I'll accept your offer. Tang Yifen clenched his fist once again, but this time, it wasn't because of frustration, but due to his excitement about winning. On the other hand, Fu Shen sighed in relief in his heart. Thank goodness. If this young master of our clan took it as an insult and become reckless, it would have been troublesome. Meanwhile, the new emperor of the Tang dynasty let out a victory smirk. It is good that you took the wise decision, Lu Zhen. Anyway, I'm returning to the palace. Until you leave, you will be the guest of the empire. So, feel free to spend as much time as you want for the last time. Once he said whatever he wanted, the young emperor took out a scroll from his sleeves and poured his ether energy into it. As it lit up, he then looked at Mark once again. Goodbye, Lu Zhen. I hope we will never meet again. He turned into specks of light and disappeared from the place. Mark, on the other hand, continued to stare at that place in calmness. After waiting for a while, seeing that Mark was still in deep thought, Fu Sheng interrupted him. Young master, young master. Yes. Are you having second thoughts about your decision? He asked. Mark didn't give him the answer. Instead, he asked a question in return. What do you think? I think you made the right decision, Fu Sheng replied in a serious tone. Even if I made a breakthrough, I still couldn't compare to the likes of my master. Due to a curse, which constantly leaks his aura, he imprisoned himself in a dimension he created. But that won't stop him from shielding Emperor Tang. His range of attack also extends to 1,000 kilometers. So it would have been impossible for us to escape his wrath. Furthermore, Void Temple's patriarch is another one to worry about. He is the founder's brother and is involved in the matters of the imperial family too. I guess the young master probably thought the same, and came to the conclusion that it is not worth making an enemy out of the Tang dynasty for no reason. Do you really? I'm afraid of killing him. Mark's eyes changed all of a sudden. Coldness replaced his calmness. Fu Sheng couldn't help but furrow his brows. What do you mean? Mark replied, Tang Yifan is nothing more than a disposable puppet. Kill him, then someone else will replace him. I think he knows that too. It is why he dared to challenge me even after knowing of your betrayal. Killing him will not solve the issue. And killing the Empire's founder and destroying the Void Temple will only make this world more vulnerable to extraterrestrial attacks and invasion of beasts. He needs to be destroyed on a cellular level. Cellular level, extraterrestrial attacks. Fu Sheng never heard of such terms in his life. At the same time, he was quite surprised by the sheer level of overconfidence in Mark, as if everything was in his grasp. What are you planning on doing? He asked. Mark didn't explain it and merely said, You are following me to Lunaris City, right? You will soon understand. Fu Sheng was once again slightly taken aback, sensing something when his eyes met Mark's eyes. His face might resemble Brother Jensen, but they are poles apart. He might look harmless, but when observed closely, this Lu Zhen has too much darkness. I can see it. Several hours passed away. During this time, the citizens were informed of the death of the emperor and the ascendance of the new emperor who had the acknowledgement from the celestial dragon spirit. The guests who came for the auction were also invited to attend the coronation ceremony 3 days later. The imperial palace also sent an invitation to Mark with the intention of slightly mocking him, but the latter sent a befitting response of sending back Dong Bao with a letter. The letter stated that Dong Bao had already revealed the truth to him and was sent back with his head intact as a present for his coronation. Mark didn't forget to inform him that he won't be attending the ceremony, as he had many more important things to do elsewhere. Meanwhile, he and Qing Jai discussed the terms for their new business. It will be operated under Qing Jai's name on the outside, but the firearms section will be entirely managed by Mark and his staff members, at least until Qing Jai and his staff members understand the firearms and everything about them. Once Qing Jai understands everything about firearms and its business, he will take over the firearms section too and manage it on his own, getting a 10% commission at first, eventually acquiring the full rights to sell the firearms in Bei's empire, once he shows enough profits. Fu Sheng was then given the task of escorting Qing Jai safely to his home. James and Eyal joined them, under Mark's orders, one to keep an eye on Fu Sheng and the other as his representative to decide on a few nice locations for the joint business in Bei's empire. As for Mark, he was on his way to Lunaris City with his ladies and his son from the future. While they are busy chatting with each other, mostly, Song Yue asks Sylvandria about the elven world, James is taking a nap, and Mark is discussing his evil plans with Steve, the son who probably listens to his orders better than the righteous James. They were also talking in English so that his plans remained a secret from Song Yue and Shen Ling. But you said that the crown prince is in hiding. Rather than searching for him and wasting a long time, isn't it better to kill Shang Jun and create a civil war? Shang Zexi will come out to claim the throne. Steve voiced his opinion after hearing the plan. Mark shook his head. If he dies that way, how would he suffer for his actions? Steve grabbed his chin and looked down, engrossing in thoughts. After a while he asked, why not abducting him? I can just go to the palace and grab him in a second. Nope, there is a troublesome demigod in the palace. Mark shook his head, rejecting his idea. She might not be interested in supporting Shang Jun, but she will definitely confront you before you get to the palace. Indeed, Grandma is the type to attack and then listen. Who knows what would happen if she learns my secret? As the 14-year-old agreed with his dad's assessment, Mark developed a frown on his face. How are you familiar with her? Does in the future we'll get along or something? Well, actually, Grandma is. Steve was about to say something, but Mark interrupted him quickly. Wait, don't tell. I don't want to hear what happens in the future. I don't know what kind of consequences it will have. Just letting you stay here for such a long time is already troubling enough. But don't worry, I will find a way to send you back once I am done with my plans. I'm not talking about the future, Dad. I was just trying to say that Grandma is at the Dragon Empire, isn't she? If you abduct him before she and Grandpa gets back home, won't it be easier to abduct Shang Jun? Chapter 511, Plans to Create a Civil War. Steve's reminder jolted Mark's senses and almost made him slap his own forehead. That's right. According to Fu Sheng, both of them and Song Tai were touring the Dragon Empire. There is a high chance that they will be attending the coronation ceremony too. His eyes lit up because of the good news, and he made sure to thank his teenage son from the future. Thank you. This is actually the best time to act. Mark no longer wasted the time. He rose to his feet and walked to the podium in the center of the room, where a white orb-like thing was placed on top of it. It wasn't an important treasure of something. It was merely the control system Mark created from his imagination when he remodified the transformation of the divine throne. Placing his hand on top of that white orb, Mark whispered, "Disable auto mode. Connect me with your eyes and go at full speed." In that instant, the spider ship suddenly accelerated to the maximum, achieving hypersonic speeds within 10 seconds of time. Thankfully, none inside felt that sudden burst of speed. Even Sylvandria didn't feel any change from a while ago. If there is anything that caught her attention, it is Mark's actions. Just like that, nearly 10,000 kilometers of distance was covered within an hour of time, when it usually takes around 5-7 days for high-tier ships used by the royal families to sail the ocean. Before they even knew it, they already arrived at the skis above the shores of the western moon, and the ship slowed down a bit as the sudden break would generate enough force to cause unnecessary heavy damage in the surroundings. It took another hour to land at some remote location on the plains, roughly 200 kilometers away from the capital city. Their Zheng in its beast form was seen waiting for them alongside an excited Zai Mei, a pale-faced Meng Tao, a shivering griffin that was tied to a medium-sized carriage. Unsurprisingly, Song Yue and Shen Ling were astonished when they got out of the vehicle. Song Yue commented as she covered her eyes with the back of her palm. It was late in the evening when they started their journey, but when they stepped out, the sun was burning brightly. "Where are we?" she asked. Shen Ling scanned her surroundings for a few seconds and replied, "It seems we are home." Already, Song Yue looked at her. Shen Ling simply pointed her finger at the others waiting for them. "It doesn't make sense for the guardian beast to travel far away from Vermilion Bird Continent, not to mention, with our friends. The ocean is nowhere to be seen, and there is no big island enough with such mountains in between Western Moon and the Dragon Empire either. The mountains that we are seeing far away must be part of Kunyu mountain range." On the other hand, Sylvandria went down memory lane and remembered how she traveled on the magic carpet alongside Mark in the Ixodus Empire. It also traveled halfway around the world at great speeds. She couldn't help but suspect that both were the same. After all, it is not a secret that some powerful divine-grade items have the ability to transform into things whatever they imagined in their heads. At the same time, her gaze was fixed on the demigod realm beast standing before them. First, those two demigods, and now this. Just how many of them are in this world? She thought to herself as she warily looked at the five-tailed leopard. Shenling also seemed a bit uncomfortable around the beast, but Mark seemed like he couldn't care less about it. As soon as they got down, Mark looked at the Zhang and passed another telepathic message. "I'll return quickly, so please look after them, Lan Ju." As the Zhang nodded, Mark bid goodbye to the ladies without giving them any sort of explanation on why he dropped in the middle of nowhere, merely stating that he had some urgent business to attend to. Steve was also asked to tag along with him. The spider ship flew at an altitude as high as 10 km as it moved in hypersonic speeds, making it appear like a shooting star for those who were lucky enough to catch a glimpse. Within no time, the spider ship eventually entered the skies of the Phoenix Empire's Imperial City. As Steve was looking at the Imperial City through the glass window, Mark's voice entered his ears. "Okay, now is the time for you to go and abduct the target. Don't forget to knock him out first." "Ooh, what?" Steve abruptly turned around in surprise. "Do you want me to go down at such height?" "You can fly, can't you?" Mark shrugged his shoulders. "Dad, there are a lot of things like thin atmosphere, high radiation levels from the sun during morning. The temperature will be like -50°C here." He shivered at the thought. "You are a supreme being, Steve," replied Mark in a calm tone. "Theoretically, you will be fine even in the space. Don't be a coward. Now go," he added. "That's all and good, but..." As Steve was trying to say something, Mark snapped his fingers. An opening occurred right where the teenage boy was standing. A powerful gust of chilly wind hit the father and son. The former was unaffected due to Blizzard Pegasus bloodline, but the latter shivered slightly. "So cold." "Now go." Mark controlled the spider ship to tilt downwards, letting Steve fall from the vehicle. As Steve started falling down, the door was closed and Mark became connected with the ship to keep an eye on his son, just in case. After free falling at great speeds for a few seconds, Steve regained control over his body and started descending toward the city while ignoring the coldness. Once he stopped feeling uncomfortable at 5 km altitude, Steve halted his descent for a moment and raised his head to stare at the dot-like object in the sky. Dad is seriously ruthless even to his own son. Well, I guess his personality hasn't changed much, unlike Mom. Maybe it is not because of some incident but due to his personality rubbing off on her. Impossible. Anyway, let's get this matter over with. He continued to descend with greater speed. Chapter 512. Splitting the Soul is the Way to Breakthrough. Meanwhile, at the Great Plains of Chang. As the spider ship left everyone's sight, Zhang opened its mouth to speak with the ones who remained. "A while ago, I received a request from Lu Zhen. He asked me to bring this human named Meng Tao along with me as I come to this particular location to receive you all and set up a camp. For the time being, you will be staying here. Once he returns, we will start leaving for Lunaris City. Until then, you can do whatever you want." "When will he return?" asked Sylvandria without any fear on her face. Before Zhang answered her, Shen Ling spoke. "I just want to know whether we are at Western Moon or not." The Zhang first looked at Sylvandria to clear her doubt. "I'm not sure either, but I can communicate with him and provide you updates once in a while." The Scarlet Leopard then turned its head to look at the princess. "Yes, we are not far away from Lunaris City. However, you cannot leave right now. If Lu Zhen hadn't told you anything then, you can only wait for his return and question him directly." "I understand." Shen Ling elegantly bowed to the beast as she grabbed her skirt. "Thank you." Meanwhile, Song Yue was staring at the beast in silence, as if she had fallen into deep thought. The Zhang sensed her gaze and asked, "Lady Song, is there anything you want to say?" Sylvandria was startled a bit due to the difference in how the demigod realm beast was addressing them. "Lady." Shen Ling, on the other hand, didn't think too much. Song Yue came out of her stupor and said, "Mr. Lan, if I remember correctly, the dots on your body are black. They now appeared white." "Oh, an excellent observation." The Zhang praised the most probable eldest wife of its master. "The change is due to our connection, Lady Song. Every beast that forms a contract will eventually gain additional abilities. I, on the other hand, acquired an entirely elemental attribute." I have yet to master the ice element, but once I complete it, I will proceed to create my avatar and make my preparations for the breakthrough. Ice element, breakthrough. The three ladies couldn't help but look at each other in a mix of surprise and confusion. At the moment, all three of them generated the same question in their minds. As Song Yue and Sheng Ling hesitated to ask, due to the fact that it is useless for someone like them with mediocre talent, and Sylvandria, who was uncomfortable around the presence of a beast emperor like the Zheng, they fell silent and merely accepted its explanation. Song Yue's attention was then shifted to the teenage girl, who was walking toward her with Meng Tao. Soon, all of them started preparing to set up a camp and rest in the middle of nowhere. Sylvandria's attention was on the demigod beast that was simply lying on the ground and had its gaze fixed in the east. She excused herself from the rest and walked toward the beast emperor. The Zheng sensed her presence and spared a glance at her, opening its mouth as she neared him. "Do you need anything, miss?" Sylvandria didn't mince her words and directly questioned the beast. "How does creating an avatar help the breakthrough? Isn't it just a waste of ether energy?" The Zheng didn't answer her question at first and simply responded, "Why do you want to know? With such pure divine energy and the blessings of a deity, you shouldn't have any problems with a breakthrough anyway. You can also see that I have the blessings of a deity." Sylvandria appeared to be impressed. Lan Ju slowly turned its head to look at the woman far older than himself. "Isn't it something common when one reaches the demigod realm?" "Maybe," Sylvandria shrugged her shoulders. "I don't know. I'm not a demigod and I cannot become one either." Lan Ju was forced to take another look at Sylvandria and shook his head. "I don't sense any curses, though. You could make a breakthrough." "Without an order from our Lord, if I do that, my body will break down." Sylvandria let out a sigh. "I betrayed Lord Oriel and joined Lu Zhen's side. Any further actions of raising my cultivation is considered selfish, and this will result in losing not only his blessing but also his blessing. Anyway, it is a complicated story. You won't understand." Lan Ju stared at her for a couple of seconds and asked, "Then, are you asking simply out of curiosity, or do you have a wish to escape this Oriel's control over your fate?" Sylvandria couldn't help but sigh once again as she remembered certain memories. "As I no longer hold any purpose to live, I have decided to dedicate my life to Lu Zhen, who gave me this new life. Turning into a demigod would probably ease his major worry, but I cannot just go against our deity." "Then this technique would be perfect for you," said the Zheng as it got up in a bit of excitement. "Our ancient land's avatar creation is different from the rest. Here, our avatars won't be born, but instead they are merely created as our mirror selves. It's like a clone, but with your soul. Using an ancient technique of land sect, we will split our soul into 2 equal parts. Along with your soul, your ether energy will also be halved. However, the basic requirement is that you should possess multiple attributes so that you can give one to your avatar. Unlike beasts like me that have such privilege, it is incredibly rare for humanoid races to be born with multiple elements. You can use an elemental seed as a replacement in that case in the creation of the avatar. Anyways, after splitting yourself into 2 parts, both of you then resume your training to reach the peak before merging back into oneself, forcefully breaking through to the next realm. This way, you won't go against your Lord because you aren't actually making a breakthrough, but the breakthrough will happen by force when you merely merge with your other self." Splitting one's soul, huh? The former high priestess of the Ixodus Empire grabbed her chin and thought about it seriously. Chapter 513, Discussions at the Imperial Palace of Phoenix. After thinking about it thoroughly, she asked, "What are the risks involved in this method?" "Risks?" The Zheng raised its head to look at the horizon for a moment as if it were trying to memorize something. The Beast Emperor shook its head. "Not that I'm aware of." "After the split, what if your counterpart tries to kill you or worse, run away to lead a different life?" she asked curiously. The Zheng firmly shook its head. "No, that cannot be possible. If our soul is split into equal parts, we both have the same personalities and thoughts. We will be identical to everything. If I didn't have any thoughts of running away, neither would my counterpart have the same thought." In the event of my counterpart killing me, my soul and my ether energy would be absorbed into it, and I will be reborn as a whole once again. It will be me in the end. Sylvandria wasn't still convinced. She argued, our actions and behavior change based on the things we encounter. What if you and your counterpart encounter different types of situations? A while ago, she looked very pitiful. Then, as a ray of hope appeared in the form of a loophole, it turned into curiosity. Now, that curiosity turned into confidence, and her tone seemed a bit more authoritative. She continued, both of you will have additional memories that the other doesn't have. This could result in a change of personality. The more different memories they gain differently, the more their personality and thoughts will change. And there is also a question of whether your counterpart will also retain your contract with Lu Zhen. Whether it becomes a free beast or stays under contract, then what would happen if someone forcefully captures it and forms a contract? I know that there are techniques to forcefully wipe off a contract with the beast. To prevent such a scenario, either of you would have to train in an extremely remote location or an enclosed space like some sort of pocket dimension until your goal is achieved, isn't it? Well, the Zheng became speechless for a second as it didn't have the answer. It merely explained the details of the technique that its previous master told it years ago. To hide its embarrassment, the Zheng snapped at the elf. For someone with a single attribute, you do have a lot of questions, Otherworlder. Now go and join your companions. Let me take a rest. The scarlet leopard lay on the grass and closed its eyes, acting like it slept. Sylvandria narrowed her eyes to stare at the beast for a while before she shook her head and left it. As she was leaving, the beast emperor slowly opened one of its eyes, looked at her back and thought, this lady has divinity just like that kid. The Zheng glanced at the teenage girl with the others. However, this one is slightly different. There's something off about her. She reminds me of Lord Yuqiang for some reason. It looks like I need to keep an eye on her, even if it is from far away. Imperial City, Phoenix Empire. At the Imperial Court, Shang Jun was in a closed-door meeting with the ministers without any audience from the other court officials. The news of the Dragon Emperor's death has already reached them, and Shang Jun is looking forward to cash on the opportunity to forge relations with the new emperor. I'm aware that Imperial Uncle is at Dragon Empire and would probably attend the coronation ceremony, but it is more like a personal visit, not representing the Phoenix Empire's interests, said Shang Jun, as a minister reminded him about Shang Fu and others' whereabouts. His prime minister, the third prince, Shang Wei, stated his opinion, disagreeing with the emperor. His imperial majesty can represent our interests as long as we inform him. His previous relations with the Dragon Empire's late emperor might help us in statting our terms without the need for a formal letter too. I can see your point. Shang Jun leaned to the side and placed his elbow on the throne's handle while resting his chin on his fist. He glanced to the other side. What do you think, Special Advisor Cao? Everyone's attention immediately shifted to the monk sitting in silence. It was obvious that his opinion was the most important in the court, due to the emperor's dependence on this monk with mysterious origins. Cao Wen stood up and bowed in the direction of the emperor. Your Majesty, I don't mean any disrespect for the former emperor, but he recently stepped down from the throne. Using him for any kind of diplomacy will make the emperors of foreign lands look down on His Majesty's ability. Shang Jun's face immediately changed all of a sudden by the statement from his advisor. Furrowing his brows in seriousness, he said with a bit of arrogance, unlike the previous emperors, no one handed me this throne on a silver platter. I earned with these own hands. I don't need Imperial Uncle's support on this matter. Hearing this, Shang Wei's facial expression hardened, but he controlled himself by clenching his fists for a few seconds and releasing them before speaking in a bit of frustration. There is also Venerable Song, Your Majesty. If he does the diplomatic work, won't it send a message that a Supreme Realm expert is at your command? Oh, that makes sense indeed. Shang Jun's eyes lit up at his cousin's suggestion. However, Cao Wen didn't back down. As if he had already prepared to counter, he spoke. Your Majesty, This is the same expert who couldn't get back Western Yan that was forcefully taken away from us. And this is the same person who abandoned his duty of protecting his homeland and went along with Imperial Majesty on a vacation. What if someone takes advantage of the situation and invades us? Such thought would have come to him, right? We cannot let a person whose loyalty to the throne is questionable represent the interests of His Majesty. It's not about giving an impression, but about right and wrong. From the moment Cao Wen started speaking, Shang Jun's expression turned worse and worsened further as he went on explaining his reasoning without mincing his words. Shang Wei's face also darkened further at the same time, feeling very difficult to listen to such words. He gave up on convincing his cousin and kept his mouth shut. Cao Wen observed that, and taking advantage of the situation, he further made a suggestion. The crown prince might have ascended to the throne because of the sudden demise of the emperor, but the Tang dynasty's biggest support is the Lord of Reignar, King Rong Huang. It is better if we get him on our side. With his help, we can take back our land. Even in case of a failure, he will force Emperor Tang to take revenge. As the ministers were stunned to hear a sinister plan from a monk of all people, Cao Wen ended with a comment. Ego is always a vulnerable part of people at high positions and those with powerful strength, Your Majesty. Hurt that ego, they will even burn the world. You are right, mister. Suddenly, an unfamiliar high-pitched voice was heard in the surroundings, startling everyone. But every action has consequences, don't you think? Followed by the voice, the door to the courtroom was sliced down in half. Thud! They fell down, revealing a black-hooded person with a sword in his hand. Chapter 514, Launching the Space Station. Everyone got up in shock. Who are you? Shang Jun roared in anger. Steve neither gave his introduction, nor did he bother to reply. He rushed forward at a speed that couldn't be captured by anyone in the room and swung his sword at the young emperor. Before he knew what happened, Shang Jun's left hand rolled on the floor and he screamed in pain with his knees, touching the floor while the blood started dripping at a crazy rate. Picking up the hand, Steve said, "The true heir to the throne says hello." "Who is there? Kill him!" Shang Jun shouted, but no Imperial Guard responded. As he desperately looked at Cao Wen, he saw the monk was shaking in fear. Steve then left the palace in a hurry, bringing the hand to the spider ship, where Mark was waiting for him. Mark directly placed the hand with a fresh wound in his inventory and patted Steve's shoulder. "Good job." "But why?" Steve asked in confusion while protecting his body from cold using a layer of ether energy. "We are supposed to abduct him. Why did you change the plan at the last second?" "I just remembered something, that's all." Mark didn't share his secret and just gave a vague answer. Steve didn't probe into the matter too much and reported to him about what he did down there. Mark's spider ship returned to the Great Plains in a jiffy, where a camp was set up, and everyone was resting inside their respective tents with the beasts guarding outside. The next day morning, Song Yue was humming in a good mood as she was walking in the corridor. After seeing her mother after so long, it seemed as if all of the traces of her sadness had gone away, at least on the outside. As she reached Mark's room, she saw it was open. When she peeked in, she saw Mark was with Steve as they were drawing something on a large sheet of paper and discussing something in an unfamiliar language with her. Knock, knock, knock. She knocked on the door 3 times to get their attention. Mark sprung on his feet while swiftly hiding the paper behind him before sending it to the inventory. "Good morning, Shats." "Good morning, Miss Song." "What are you doing?" she asked. "Weapon design, venue design." Both of them replied at the same time, although differently. What design?" Due to the overlapping of the words, she couldn't hear it properly. "Miss Song, we actually..." Steve was about to say something, but his shin received a sharp kick from his dad. Winced in pain, he shook his head. "Nothing important." What's so secrecy?" Song Yue only became more curious. Mark walked forward and grabbed her shoulders with a smile. "Nothing, it is just something we are working on. Once it is done, I'll let you know." "All right." Song Yue nodded twice, letting out a smile. Not intending to disturb him further, she left using an excuse that she would go and meet her mother. After she disappeared from his sight, Mark turned around and gave a serious look to Steve, who apologized right away. "Sorry, I couldn't help but become nervous in Mom's presence." "Come on, she won't eat you," Mark casually commented, to which Steve replied, "The one from my time was so strict and cold that I—" "Stop right there," Mark hurriedly interrupted him. "Didn't I tell you not to speak anything of the future?" "Sorry," Steve apologized once again, looking down at his feet. "Without James on my side, it is tough to control myself speaking about it. I'll try my best to keep my mouth shut." "Sigh." Mark could only shake his head with a sigh and comment, "Sometimes I forget that you are still a 14-year-old. Anyway, let's back to the venue design. You focus on that. We shall make it so grand that it should go down in history." A few hours later, after making sure that no one was around, Mark opened the inventory and clicked on the image that looked like a shiny object with solar panels all around. In an instant, a large titanium cube appeared on the ground, slightly bigger than himself. "Ooh, this wasn't what I imagined." Mark was stunned for a second before activating his God's Eye ability. Space Station II. Grade Gold. Crew 1020 astronauts. Length 80 meters. Width 60 meters. Height 30 meters. Weight 300,000 kg. Armament none, designed for peaceful purposes. Ammunition capacity NA. Cartridge type NA. Max speed of vehicle 28,000 km/h. Orbital velocity. Fuel solar panels for power generation. Advanced propulsion systems. Cruising range indefinite orbital. Armor advanced shielding technology rank 5. Additional attachments: docking ports for spacecraft, science laboratories, living quarters, observation decks, and communication array. Description: an advanced orbital space station designed for scientific research, international cooperation, and exploration. Equipped with cutting-edge shielding technology, it prioritizes peaceful endeavors and serves as a hub for various space missions. Capable of accommodating a large crew and supporting a wide range of experiments and observations. Note: it shall be launched into space using a space rocket. Once it is placed into the desired orbit, 400 km altitude, the host can unfold it to its full size. Skills: active. Descent: the space station can descend back to the planet without any side effects whenever the user wishes. Cost: 50% ether energy max. CD: none. Teleportation: the user could teleport directly into the space station in the blink of an eye. Cost: 50% ether energy per one-way trip. CD: none. Passive. Connection: the space station, once set in orbit, will activate its connection with the system, thereby letting the user control some of its functions, such as tracking environmental changes, studying and predicting natural disasters, gathering data on climate patterns, monitoring the movements of enemies and allies using deep scanning, etc. Barrier: the space station absorbs solar energy and generates a barrier that protects from unknown attacks of any kind up to the 7-circle realm. Upgrade: okay, this one has one thing I need. It is quite indeed different from my past life. Well, I guess that's to be expected. It is created by the system after all. Anyway, let's just upgrade it to diamond before sending it to the space. Who knows? I might even get to weaponize it. Mark sent it back to the inventory and opened its details before clicking on the upgrade. Ding, 120k credits are deducted. Space Station III is upgraded to Space Station IV. Ding, 840k credits are deducted. Space Station IV is upgraded to Space Station V. That reduced all of the remaining credits to a little above 350k. I guess I won't be doing purchases for a while, not until I earn a huge amount of credits by an event. Well, I could still sell the stuff in my inventory, but it is better to sell them at Ching Jai's store. I could earn more money that way. Well, let's see the result. The image in the inventory slot didn't change, and when he took it out, its appearance also didn't undergo any changes. But when he saw its details, Mark's face glowed up in satisfaction. Laser-based DWs and a solar beam. It is more than enough to take down my enemies while sitting at home. Now it is finally ready to be launched. Now, wait a second. I still have a superior grade upgrade stone. Should I use it? Space Station V. Grade Diamond. Crew 40-50 astronauts. Length 320 meters. Width 240 meters. Height 120 meters. Weight 1,264,778 kg. Armament, direct energy weapons, laser cannons 2. Ammunition capacity, unlimited. Cartridge type, high-energy lasers. AVG, speed of vehicle, 62,132 km/h, orbital velocity. Range, 32,000 km. Fuel, solar panels for power generation, advanced propulsion systems. Cruising range, indefinite orbital. Armor, advanced shielding technology, rank 7. Additional attachments, docking ports for spacecraft, science laboratories, living quarters, observation decks, communication array. Description: an advanced orbital space station designed for scientific research, international cooperation, and exploration. Equipped with cutting-edge shielding technology, it serves as a hub for various space missions and can be used to protect the planet from extraterrestrial attacks. Due to the consumption of a heavy amount of solar energy, the excess is used to push its speed above its intended orbital velocity. Note, it shall be launched into space using a space rocket. Once it is placed into the desired orbit, 400 km, the host can unfold it to its full size. Skills: active. Descent: the space station can descend back to the planet without any side effects whenever the user wishes. Cost: 30% ether energy max. CD: none. Teleportation: the user could teleport directly into the space station in the blink of an eye. Cost: 30% ether energy per one-way trip. CD: none. Solar beam: using solar panels made from special materials, the space station can weaponize the solar energy it absorbs to shoot a solar beam at enemies with an attack power of 200% max. 9. Cost: 100% ether energy. CD: 24 hours. Laser bullets: using the laser cannons, the space station becomes the first line of defense for the planet against any invasion from space. Attack power equal to 7.5. Cost: none. CD: 5 seconds. Range: 100 km. Laser beam: the laser cannons together conjure a powerful laser beam and fire at the target with an attack power of 120%. Cost: 20% ether energy. Range: 1,000 km. The third eye: the space station momentarily scans the entire planet it was revolving around to find the desired object person the user wishes. Cost: 25% ether energy. CD: none. Passive. Connection: the space station, once set in orbit, will activate its connection with the system, thereby letting the user control some of its functions, such as tracking environmental changes, studying and predicting natural disasters, gathering data on climate patterns, monitoring the movements of enemies and allies using deep scanning, etc. Barrier: the space station absorbs solar energy and generates a barrier that protects from unknown attacks of any kind up to the 7-circle realm. Upgrade: man, this kind of tech really needs the best upgrades. Too bad I'm out of cash already. Should I use upgrade stone or use the credit limit? I think I can upgrade it all the way to celestial grade. Who knows how powerful it will get? After thinking for a bit, Mark became against such an idea. The superior grade upgrade stone is best used when the item is at mithril grade, so that it becomes celestial grade and saves tens of millions of credits. Furthermore, he won't be staying here for a very long time. Hence, it didn't seem worth using a credit limit and upgrading it 3 more times. But at the same time, there was also this curiosity about what kind of new abilities would the space station acquire in its upgrades, leaving him in a dilemma. So what should he do now? In the end, he decided to play it safe. Taking one last look at the details, Mark proceeded to take out the rocket launching station from its inventory. The rocket launching station was quite simple compared to the ones he witnessed in his past life. In fact, it was so simple that it doesn't even look like a launching station at all. There were no complicated machines attached or huge structures built for operations and everything. Rather than a launching station, it looked more like a 100-meter-long cannon placed on a large docking port. Where the hell is the rocket? Mark couldn't help but wonder aloud. Chapter 515, The Third Eye. Ding, the host has to manually unlock the rocket. It costs 10 million credits to unlock, and the price of a rocket depends on its size. Mark wanted to swear at the system, even if he had to risk taking an electric shock, but fortunately for him, the system followed up with another notification, making him swallow down those curses. Ding, with a peak force of 9x1025N, the cannon launcher has enough force to launch objects directly to even this planet's moon, resisting every kind of force that has an opposite effect, as long as they can fit inside the cannon and are durable enough to withstand it. Oh, I see. Mark had faced enough shocks in the past few months that he was no longer stunned by the system's created items that defy the logic of science he learned while growing up. Anyway, system, launch the space station. Ding affirmed. The block of the cube disappeared from his inventory and was transported to the launcher. A green-colored light in the form of a line appeared at the bottom of the launcher, before another one appeared a couple of meters above it. Third one, and then the fourth one, and so on, until the 10th one at the center of the launcher. Ding, the cannon launcher is charged up. The required force to the desired orbit is achieved. Get ready for the launch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Swoosh. The giant block of cube was fired vertically from the launcher without any sort of sound. Mark got a glimpse at it when the object was released, but it instantly disappeared from his sight. Mark sent the so-called portable rocket launching station to his inventory and returned to Lunaris City by walking into the portal. After randomly appearing in a remote location that just looked like a wilderness, Mark summoned his LN and started driving back to the palace. Not even 5 minutes passed since he started driving, and Mark received a notification from the system. Ding, Space Station V successfully reached its orbit, 400 km altitude, and activated. Ding, Space Station panel is added to the character menu. Check it for the details. Mark was forced to hit the brakes and stop the vehicle. Already, he couldn't help but ask the system to confirm it again. It responded in a way that made it seem like it was mocking Mark's intelligence. Ding, system clearly mentioned that objects launched by the cannon launcher with enough force that all kinds of resisting forces will have negligible impact on them. After a few moments of silence, Mark let out a sigh and passed the order. System, open Space Station panel. Activate the skill Third Eye. Ding, need the name and other details. The better the details, the less time is taken. Mark closed his eyes and imagined the appearance of his eldest half-sibling in his mind before mumbling. Name, Shang Zexi, age 38 or 39. Location priority, Phoenix Empire. Ding, the third eye activated. Wait for the details. As 25% of his ether energy reduced instantly, in space at 400 km altitude, the large space station that just unfolded into its real form and started revolving around the planet in its desired orbit glowed brightly for a few seconds, and momentarily increased its scanning ability to the entire planet, instead of just the partial area it was designed to scan. Back to Mark, after activating the ability, he waited in patience, thinking that the job would be done within a few minutes unless the former crown prince was hiding deep in the underground caves of some mountains. The system's creation didn't let him down and gave him the GPS location of the target within 15 seconds. It showed him the location of northern Yuan province's Silla, a town located near the border with Zhao province. Shang Zexi was found. Now all that's left is to force him to start a rebellion, but hurting Shang Jun isn't enough to do that. I would have to take action by myself. However, if I go in person, there is a significant chance of getting rejected. A guy like him might even twist the facts and blame me for his current situation. Well, I might have played a part, but he is still responsible for his own demise. Anyway, let's send someone he doesn't know but strong enough to give him that courage. It is time for that non-existent, mysterious backer of mine to come into the limelight. Mark let out an evil grin, imagining the scenario of the future of the Phoenix Empire. Meanwhile, at the Phoenix Empire, Shang Jun was lying on his bed with a dazed expression on his face, with his left arm being treated by the Imperial healer. Various officials were seen standing on the side and watching him, including his principal advisor, Cao Wen, Prime Minister Shang Wei, the Supreme Commander Bai Zun. After the treatment was completed and the Imperial healer left, Cao Wen spoke. "Your Majesty, the regrowth pill is already on the way. Within a couple of weeks, your left hand will return to normal without any side effects." Shang Jun didn't respond to his words filled with assurance. He continued to stare at the ceiling in a daze. Shang Wei and Bai Zun glanced at each other. The latter slightly shook his head, gesturing for him not to speak anything and stay silent on the spot. "Your Majesty, Your Majesty." After calling him a couple of times, Cao Wen walked to the bed and touched his shoulders. "Your Majesty." Shang Jun finally responded by moving his eyes to the side to spare a glance at his advisor. Cao Wen softly spoke. "Fourth Prince's organization, Net, was working with everything they have got. His Highness promised that we will find the assailant's identity within a week. The true heir to the throne says hello." This is what he said, Advisor Cao. Shang Jun slowly opened his mouth. "Do you know what that means?" "Crown Prince Shang Zexi," Cao Wen yelped in surprise. Shang Wei and Bai Zun also seemed taken aback. "Are you implying that eldest brother is the one behind this incident?" Shang Wei couldn't help but ask, but the assailant seemed like a supreme realm expert. He had no love for the brother who tried to harm him multiple times, but that doesn't mean he would sit quietly if Shang Jun just blatantly pins it on the one who went into hiding in fear. However, to their surprise, Shang Jun bitterly smiled as he slowly shook his head. "There is someone else. The one who attacked me is no doubt a direct descendant of the Shang dynasty. You should have also sensed it, Prince Wei. There's a phoenix bloodline inside him, and it was very pure, but not pure to the extent that he or his immediate ancestors received a blessing from the phoenix. If I'm right, a line from the previous emperors must have existed without us knowing. If we want to find out his identity, we should start from there." He shifted his attention back to Cao Wen. "Advisor Cao, I need you to send a message to our brothers. Tell them to come here." "Our brothers?" Shang Wei and Bai Zun spared a glance at each other once again. They shared the same thought. Chapter 516, An Offer to the Former Crown Prince. Northern Yuan Province, Silla Town. In the most famous brothel of the Silla Town, beautiful maidens were dancing as the top courtesan was playing a piece of melody music, good enough to make everyone go into a trance and enjoy it. There are many men around, but two of them seemed set apart from the others. No one seemed as wealthy as two men, whether it was their attire or the dishes and the wine they were served. They were also accompanied by three popular courtesans. One of them was actually the crown prince who was on the run, while the other was the lord of the town. As no one had ever seen the former crown prince before, he was wearing a half-mask that was covering the left part of his face, not to mention he was in the six-circle realm, and was sitting up on the second floor reserved for only VIPs. They only assumed that it was some powerful elite warrior their town lord knew. No one bore any suspicions about his identity and focused on the entertainment presented before them. Meanwhile, the two men were discussing the affairs of the empire, and it looked like Shang Zexi looked a bit displeased at the moment. Taking a sip of wine, Shang Zexi spoke in a bit of a drunken state. "You know, Lord Yi, 1 year ago, I was in a position where I may ascend to the throne at any moment. Fate kicked me like a dog. Your Highness, a lot of nobles are dissatisfied by His Majesty's policies. It's not even that long he ascended to the throne, and he has already offended at least half of the sects and guilds. Now that he is injured in the imperial court itself, the bells of rebellion could be soon rung. His Highness could use this opportunity to rise once again, replied the town lord. Shang Zexi let out a bitter smile. If there is anything I have learned in these past couple of months, it is that no amount of politics is a match for absolute strength. To dethrone Shang Jun, loyalty from the nobles isn't enough. Now that they are no longer in authority, their influence alone wouldn't give me the throne. As for the sects, even if they express dissent against the imperial court, they won't interfere in the matters of the court. I need someone like Song Tai on my side, someone like Lu Zhen who could change the dynamics of a war. I hate that bastard, but I must admit that he is quite powerful. Before the town lord stated his opinion, a voice interrupted their conversation. Well, thank you for the compliment, Prince Shang. Shang Zexi, and the town lord turned around to find Mark standing there and staring at them. Shang Zexi was so shocked that he immediately became sober and got up with a serious expression. Lu Zhen, what the hell are you doing, He momentarily shifts his attention to the drinks on the table. You bitch, what did you mix in my drinks? He displayed his anger at the courtesan serving him. As he caught her throat and she was struggling to breathe, Mark dashed forward and grabbed his hand, freeing her through force. Get out, he said to the ladies around. They hurriedly left the room and Mark sat down, gesturing the two of them to sit too. As they didn't sit, Mark threatened, You are a wanted criminal now, Prince Shang. It is best if you don't cause any ruckus that could attract unnecessary attention. Sit. As both of them sat down, the prince asked, How do you know I'm here? He warily looked around. Mark let out a smile. It doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that I'm here with an offer that you won't be able to refuse. And by the way, on account of our cooperation, I'll forgive your earlier slur about me. Cooperation, Shang Zexi furrowed his brows. Mark simply asked, Do you wish to become the emperor? What do you mean? Shang Zexi's frown only became deeper with Mark's question. I meant exactly as I have said. Mark maintained his usual fake smile as he explained, I will provide you with advanced weaponry and funds. You need to gather men or other allies on your own, though. Start the civil war and follow my strategy. I will give you the throne of the Phoenix Empire. I will even provide support in the shadows to make sure you keep that throne until you die. Shang Zexi stared at Mark for a few seconds and replied, You are certainly not my friend that you want to see me on that throne. According to what I know, you still have a supreme being at your disposal even after losing Venerable Wu. If you want an ally on the throne, your best bet would be the third prince. Why do you want to help me? Well, I'm a businessman, Prince Shang. Mark shrugged his shoulders as if he was saying those things don't matter. I do things that give me maximum profits. In this case, it is you who give me that, because you are desperate for that position. What do you want from me? Shang Zexi asked, tempted to shake hands with this devil, despite the fact that there is a part of him that blames Mark for his situation. Seeing that the other party got interested, Mark took out a large scroll from his inventory and handed it to the prince. Prince Shang opened it. The town lord also leaned forward a bit in curiosity. It is a map of the Phoenix Empire. However, there was something drawn on the map with a pencil. The drawing goes around the imperial city in the north and slowly comes down from the border of the Kunyu mountain range, cutting the Qing province vertically in half. From the right, it cuts the Sui province horizontally into half, and then goes along its border with the neighboring Jin province before going down and cutting the Zhao province vertically in half. Neither of them understood what it meant. As they looked at Mark for answers, the latter said, Whatever lands located outside the drawing is my price, meaning the entire Jin province, the outer sector in the north of the imperial city, half of Sui province, half of Qing province, and half of Zhao province. It is around 28% of the empire's land, but only has roughly 162,000 citizens, i.e., a meager 3.1% of the population and a few notable sects. This is my price. After a while. Okay then, I'm done here and need to return. Send me your confidant to Lunaris City after you acquire the support of the Yuan clan. Remember that this person will be our mediator until the end." Mark left the brothel with all smiles, leaving behind a happy Shang Zexi. He was seen clenching his fist tightly as he stared at Mark's back. "I always thought this bastard had a strong background but didn't expect there is a demigod behind him. If I get the support of a demigod, giving up those barren lands is worth the price." It looks like those rumors about him having the backing of a force from a higher plane of existence aren't false if he wasn't lying about it. Chapter 517, Cosmic Orbs in the Queue. 5 days later. Early in the morning, as soon as he woke up, Mark opened the space station panel to spy on his targets. Activate third eye. Ding, need the name and other details. The better the details, the less time is taken. Biological mother, a simple word escaped Mark's mouth in response. Ding, checking the registered list. Ding, found the details. Third eye is activated. Half a minute later, a new holographic window was opened before his eyes, displaying a map of the Dragon Empire where the icon with the image of his mom moved around. "It looks like she is still there with her husband, touring the places," mumbled Mark, closing down the window. There was this slight disappointment on his face, not sure what else he was expecting. 30 seconds of waiting was enough to recover his 25% consumed ether energy due to the passive skill of ether regeneration, which rapidly increased his recovery rate to the extent that he only needed 70 seconds to recover 100% of his ether energy. And not to mention, there was no cooldown time period for the skill. Mark went on searching other people he was acquainted, one after another. First, he checked on the location of James, who is still at Bay's Empire, but in a moving position similar to her mother, indicating that he was roaming around. Then he checked Shang Jiao, who was at his private island and in a still position, probably sleeping. Yang Zhen also seems to be sleeping. Lan Jiang, my granduncle, isn't with the kid. What was he doing at the Dragon Empire? Is he meeting Lan Jingyi or something? In that case, I cannot trust him. I should pay more attention. Who else? Oh, Shang Jun is also not at the palace. He is still in the Imperial City but in the Herald District. It is a residential district for the nobles, though. Who could he meet at such a time? Don't tell me he was actually. Bai Zun at his residence. Shang Wei is also at the palace. Shang Wen cannot be found. I wonder which plane of existence he left for. Only that trash father of mine knows. What about Fu Sheng? Okay, he is with James. What about Shang Zexi? I think he was on the way to meet me. I have already told him that I will supply the weapons in a week based on his budget. Why was he in a hurry? Not to mention, he didn't bother sending a message first and plans to surprise me with a visit. Anyway, let's forget about him and look for someone else who, that auction girl, what's her name again, Xin Rui. Let's see where she lives. Maybe I can visit her to talk about our plan to ruin the Dragon Empire. She isn't in the city. It is a mountainous location. Is she living in seclusion or is it the Void Temple? Who is there? I don't know the names, but there are demigods living there, right? If I just give the input like demigods. As he was thinking, something clicked inside Mark's head. His eyes lit up in realization and he slapped his forehead. Idiot. Why didn't you think of it before? Mark activated the third eye for the nth time. As the system prompt arrived asking him about giving the input, Mark spoke. Name, unknown. Appearance, unknown. Cultivation realm, demigod 10 circle. Search. After 2 minutes of searching, the system gave him the results, mapping various locations but without any images of the people. 7 demigods at the Dragon Empire. 6 of them are in Imperial City at the moment. What the heck is going on there? Mark sprung up to his feet, getting down the bed in surprise. He was aware of 4 demigods who were there at the Dragon Empire. One is the Tang clan's ancestor. One is the Void Temple's matriarch. One is the Dragon Emperor. And the 4th one is his mom. But where did the other 3 come from? The coronation ceremony must have already been over. Even if there were demigods in guest rooms at the auction and attended it, Shouldn't they have left by now? Why did they extend their visit? Mark couldn't help but ponder on this unusual situation. Almost 16 hours later, in the Dragon Empire, the new emperor was in the presence of 6 emperors. He might be sitting on the highest seat in the room, but he never felt as insignificant as he was now as an observer. With the Tang dynasty's founder absent from the meeting, Emperor Tang was nervous as hell, feeling like one wrong comment might lose his life. Not to mention, every demigod present is a beast. He could only watch the discussion unfolding before him, or more like an argument. Look, our world may have fewer demigods, but that doesn't mean you can just come here to do whatever you want. Okay. The Beast Empire's werewolf lord was all blazing at the outsiders. One demigod with 3 horns on his head made a counter-argument. Aren't you someone from the higher realm too? Whose permission did you take to settle down here? There is no restriction of world laws on our bodies, Yanlong. The Dragon Emperor of the Bloodhill Forest made a counter-argument. She further added, it clearly indicates that the world spirit accepts us as its children. You people, on the other hand, don't hold such privilege. Stop grouping us together. Whatever. A demigod with the head of a male lion brushed her off. Her Majesty's orders are absolute. We cannot leave without His Highness. If you don't cooperate, your world will be doomed in the end, and not even you, Jiang, will be able to save you. The werewolf lord raised his eyebrow. He looked displeased by the other party's comments. Oh, yeah, try us. I too want to see how your queen dares to go against the decree of the heavenly palace. You really don't care about the consequences. The last demigod also joined the argument with a more sensible comment. Do you think it is worthy to form enmity with the feline dynasty over such harmless investigation? The werewolf lord replied sternly, I believe I have made myself clear. If you want to get back your young master, we will search and hand over him to you. You are not permitted to explore our world. The world has enough demigods as it is. We won't give away to any demigod to make this place their home. Please, who would want this dump yard full of those parasites? Human race, scoffed the 3-horned demigod. Those parasites gave me the home, Niu Moang. A voice was heard in the surroundings, startling them. The door was opened, and a figure walked into the courtroom. Everyone got up from their seats involuntarily, including even the emperor. The sickly-looking pale boy slowly walked toward them. Every time he makes a step, the still air around him swirls around. The natural energy in the surroundings automatically absorbs into his body. Emperor Tang was relieved by the presence of the new demigod. The other realm demigod beasts, on the other hand, felt invisible pressure on their bodies as they watched the boy walking toward them. Cough, cough. As he coughed like a sick person, the rest of the demigods felt like their eardrums exploded. The emperor was fine for some reason. The werewolf lord and the dragon emperor had a look of worry on their faces. The former spoke, Brother Tang, why did you leave? We will handle the situation here. You go and rest. The pale boy forced out a weak smile. I'm fine. There's something important I need to speak about. Cough. Tang Yifen hurriedly came down to help his ancestor. He slowly escorted him to the throne, requesting him sit on it while he stood beside like some servant. Taking the seat, the pale boy spoke to the demigods. Your young master is with a human who formed a contract with a powerful demon king from Netherworld. Even if the 3 of you work together, you will have a 0 chance of success. The human also possessed a power that I'm incapable of understanding either. Cough, cough. I urge you to leave and tell your queen to wait in patience. We will deliver your young master to the doorstep. You know that's. As the lion-head demigod was about to argue, this time he was stopped by his comrade, the one who looked the most human out of the 3, the wise demigod with whiskers on his cheeks. Since you gave your word, we will accept, he said to the Tang clan's founder. They didn't stay there anymore, and once they left, the boy coughed once again. The werewolf lord and the dragon emperor hurriedly grabbed him and inserted their energy into his body. As his condition stabilized a bit, the werewolf scolded him. What could be so important that you have to come out from your domain? The Tang dynasty founder answered weakly, I found my cure, brother. Where? Both the demigods reacted strongly. The former emperor explained, "Both of you are aware that the orb of elements has long fused with my soul, and we ended up in this world, because of the fact that the orb of life is sealed here. My cure needs another cosmic orb to balance the power of the elemental orb in my body. However, we miss the fact that there is another cosmic orb here." A third orb. The demigods cast a sidelong glance at each other. Meanwhile, Tang Yifan wondered, "Cosmic orbs, what are those?" Tang founder continued to explain, "A while ago, during the time of the auction, I sensed its presence. It was just for a fraction of a second, but I have managed to confirm its existence. All these days I was busy tracing its location. Since it was sealed in its host, it was tough for me to locate it. But every fortnight during the noon here, it stayed active for a couple of moments. I have now traced it to Western Moon. The problem is that our target quite possibly is an acquaintance of that human. See if you can solve this without causing any bloodshed. In the event violence cannot be put to rest, I will stop that immortal demon and his master for a while. In the meantime, I need the two of you to bring her to the sanctum and extract the power." Chapter 518. Shang Zexi and Yuan Meili at the store. Genesis Enterprises, Lunaris City, Western Moon Kingdom. The weapons store turned enterprise with the successful business strategies from the wealthier Chang Bo, subordinate Meng Tao, and the teenager with a crush on Mark. Zai Mei, selling from weapons to food, currently put up a closed sign as they hosted the former crown prince of the neighboring empire. It wasn't the first time he visited the store. It is the official meeting point of him and Mark. However, there was someone else beside him this time. Yuan Meili had this look of unpleasantness on her face as she was given a brief tour. As they went to the topmost story of the tower, the residence of Chang Bo and Meng Tao, Yuan Meili pinched her nose in disgust, refusing to take a seat when offered and further commenting, "The place lacks elegance and quite smelly. The store is a lot better." In fact, the place was kept neat and tidy with nothing out of the ordinary as pointed out by Yuan Meili. But Chang Bo didn't argue with her about it and even apologized to her for the discomfort. "Would you like to go downstairs?" As he asked her, maintaining a polite manner, Prince Shang Zexi waved his hand with an awkward smile. "No need, Brother Chang. We will stay here." Yuan Meili furrowed her brows immediately but stayed silent until Chang Bo left the place, stating that he would go check on the kitchen. They came for the lunch, so his excuse looked perfect. Just as he left, Yuan Meili spoke to the prince in a bit of a complaining tone. "Are you seriously the same senior brother that I knew? Forget about waiting in this dump. You even call that commoner your brother. Don't tell me you want to marry your missing sister to that trash. I heard that they are close." Shang Zexi's facial expression changed quickly. He looked at her as if he snapped. "Do you even know who that is? Chang Bo is Lu Zhen's loyal servant. Unlike us who treat servants as nothing more than slaves, Lu Zhen treats them as siblings. The Sui clan's young master merely insulted his other servant, and Lu Zhen destroyed their clan compound and even extorted money in return. That's when he was merely acting in a low-key manner. Now, his actions have grown to the extent of destroying the empires at will. If he knows that you have insulted Chang Bo, forget about locating your lover. Yuan clan will not see tomorrow's sunrise. After he returns, make sure you speak courteously." But Yuan Meili wanted to speak something in her defense, but she bit her lip in frustration after seeing a stern look on her senior brother, and nodded, "I understand." After a while, Mark arrived at the store and met with both of them. He recognized the woman in one glance. As they greeted him and the crown prince introduced her, Mark responded with a nod, "I remember her." He shifted his gaze to look at the woman. After scanning her information, he was slightly surprised a bit and commented, "You are dying." Aid hung. Both the prince and the woman were taken aback by his comment. "How do you know?" Yuan Meili asked before the prince responded to that. Shang Zexi abruptly turned his head to look at his junior sister and asked upon hearing her response, "What's going on?" Mark gave the answer to his questions, based on what he found in the description, cursed yin physique. She was born with it and needs a constant supply of energy filled with a fiery bloodline like Phoenix. He then looked at the woman and said, "It is amazing that you are still alive unless someone with a Phoenix bloodline is saving you." Yuan Meili looked down at the floor, feeling nervous as her birth secret was suddenly revealed by Mark. She doesn't know what else the other party knows. With a grip of fear in her heart, she slowly explained, "No, it is not like you have imagined. My clan used fire attribute energy and ether crystals to keep me alive, but it was a temporary solution and it halted my cultivation progress. If I marry someone with Phoenix bloodline, then I could be cured and continue my cultivation." Mark stared at her for a couple of seconds. He wondered why she was so nervous. Despite being in the Supreme Realm, Mark was never an expert and didn't have a sense of the knowledge those veterans have. Hence, he took her word for the truth and merely responded with a comment, "So, that is why you were after Brother Wen. I thought you were in love with him. Nobles were indeed schemers." Yuan Meili was offended by his comment and even raised her head to look seriously at Mark. However, as their eyes met, she averted her gaze down once again and defended herself. "If I just wanted to live, I have other options too. There is His Majesty Shang Jun and Prime Minister Shang Wei. The Red Dragon bloodline can also cure me. I can also marry into the Tang dynasty. But I'm only willing to chase after Brother Wen, even after he went missing. I hope Lord Lu doesn't humiliate me by doubting my intentions. It is true that my mother urged me to pursue Brother Wen for my survival, but my heart has been clear from the beginning." As Shang Zexi instructed her earlier, she compressed all those negative thoughts in her heart and gracefully dealt with Mark just like an heiress of a noble family. Mark already had a bad impression of her for a while, and it won't disappear for a while. The best he could do was to stay silent and shift the topic. Escorting both of them to the restaurant, Mark sat with them as Chang Bo brought a bottle with liquid as clear as water and served them in traditional wine cups, which had a maximum capacity of 50 ml of liquid. What is this wine?" Prince Shang was puzzled. Yuan Meili also raised the cup and smelled it. "At one glance, it looked like water, but I can faintly smell the scent of potatoes, grapes, and there is also corn. It doesn't seem like wine. Should be another type of alcohol." Mark let out a smile as he introduced the alcohol. "This drink is a specialty of our store, created by my sister's recipe and done by our chefs. It is called vodka. As I'm not interested in creating any alcohol business, I just had it made in the kitchens using traditional methods. The one you were served is also nicknamed One Shot Down by our customers. If you don't have alcohol tolerance, I suggest drinking in moderation. Brother Lu, since young, we were trained to develop a high tolerance to alcohol as we have to attend many events every year," replied the Crown Prince with a smile, clearly looking down on the drink. Yuan Meili also smiled and gulped the drink in the cup in one go, just like they do with tea or wine. In the next instant, their facial expressions changed. Yuan Meili felt an extreme burning sensation in her mouth before feeling dizziness. Flab. Within no time, her head hit the table and lost consciousness. Meanwhile, Shang Zexi acted quickly by pouring his ether energy into his mouth, skillfully negating the effects. What the hell was this poison? He momentarily lost control before forcing himself to calm down. "I apologize." Mark calmly drank the liquid in one shot and replied, "This one has over 80% alcohol percentage. I know that anything above 40 will be dangerous, but I thought cultivators like you could handle it." Ding, toxic substance is detected, proceeding to eliminate. One really needs to be fortunate to enjoy alcohol. Watching Mark let out a long sigh and comment, Shang Zexi said in a hushed tone, "I really appreciate the drink, Brother Lu. It is unlike anything I have ever drunk. It is because this is the first time we drank." Mark interrupted him with a wave of his hand. "No, I'm not talking about you. I was criticizing my own self." He poured the vodka in the cup and raised it to his eye level and added, "No matter how much I drink, it is just like water to me. For someone like me who loves drinking, this is akin to hell. I guess this is an absolute law of the universe." Obtaining something without losing anything can only happen in dreams. If someone says that they give you things for free, you should never take it. In reality, you always have to give up your precious things for the sake of achieving your dreams. Shang Zexi meaningfully stared at Mark in silence. Chapter 519, The Bird from a Calligraphic Scroll. After a while, the prince finished the lunch and left with 1,000,000 gold coins of initial funding, while Yuan Meili ended up leaving in an unconscious state, without being able to inquire about Shang Wen's current whereabouts, not that Mark could find it anyway. After sending them off, Mark went on with his usual weapon creation and filling the storage room, then checking the accounts, listening to their future plans from Chang Bo and giving his permission to proceed with it. Later on, he returned to the palace to meet the king, who wanted to inquire about his marriage date with Song Yue so that they could proceed with his engagement ceremony with the princess. He doesn't trust Shen Niu as much as he trusts his daughter. Hence, he didn't share his plans of war against the Phoenix Empire and merely asked him to consult the fortune teller to look up the dates for both events. Mark didn't talk much with him and swiftly escaped the palace in his LN to meet with Huang Jai, the merchant who dealt with construction materials. It was for the construction of his runways and also the military bases he planned on building in at least 5 different locations of the kingdom. Merchant Huang greatly welcomed Mark at his residence. After a brief tea session and a talk about the progress of acquiring all the required materials, Mark was taken to Huang Jai's private collection. This private collection was just full of ancient calligraphic works displayed on the walls and paintings displayed on the boards in the space. With his eyes of God active, Mark scanned the pieces one after another as Huang Jai was boasting about their historical significance and value. To get into Mark's good books, the merchant even offered him to take away any piece he liked. At first, Mark thought of taking away some inexpensive pieces as the merchant was insisting, but when he eventually spotted a calligraphy that had profound strokes, he asked about it with a bit of interest. As Mark finally shows interest in a calligraphic work, the merchant suddenly grows nervous. Still, he explained without hiding anything, "Lord Lu, this is the work of Master Gu." After explaining every detail of the calligraphy and also about this Gu Wenchao, the merchant added in the end, "I purchased it for 100,000 gold coins during one of the auctions, intending to give it as a birthday present for my son's upcoming 16th birthday." Mark understood what he was trying to indicate, but he shamelessly asked, "Mr. Huang, if I want this work, would you be kind enough to give it to me?" Huang Jai was taken aback at once, shocked at how this man still asks for the work. Nevertheless, after hesitating for a bit, he bowed slightly, "Yes, if it pleases Lord Lu." As the man proceeded to take the calligraphic scroll and fold it up, Mark developed a rare, genuine smile on his face as he took out a robot from his inventory, taking the merchant by surprise once again. Handing him a piece of the scroll, Mark said, "This robot is a battle puppet, strong as a 6-circle realm expert and capable of handling any type of weapon, although like a blank book and needed proper training to use it on the field. I don't know how much it is worth as robots are not for sale, but I believe it should be at least worth the same as the calligraphic work. The scroll I gave you has the guide to control this robot. Give this as a birthday present for your son, although be sure to warn him not to use it to bully the weak." This, Huang Jai's hands shivered as he stared at the robot in shock. 6-circle. Even his voice quivered as he immediately cupped his fists and bowed, "Lord Lu, you are too generous." He might be wealthier than most of those adventurers, but he lacked the strength to protect himself or his family. Hence, he always has to depend on them, handing out lots of money. It is not just his problem. It is the problem of every wealthy individual. Getting such a powerful puppet is like a blessing from heaven. At that moment, he felt glad to give up his most prized possession. Haha, Mark let out a hearty laugh as he took the calligraphic scroll and carefully placed it in the storage ring. "In the upcoming years, I'm going to build a lot of things, Mr. Huang. I will be depending on you more." "Yes, I will try my best." Huang Jai cupped his fists once again. Soon after, Mark left the residence in his LMV, leaving an ecstatic merchant. Little did Huang Jai know that Mark was happier than him. He was whistling and humming various tunes from his past life as he was driving toward the outskirts of the city. The vehicle traveled for another hour and reached a remote location with nothing but wild plants around. He then got down from the vehicle and took out the scroll, placing it on the vehicle's hood and spreading it carefully. Man, I hit the jackpot once again. He observed the scroll's details. Scroll of Gu family. Grade NA. Description: an ancient scroll belonging to the Western Moon's Gu family. Beneath the profound work created by calligrapher Gu Wenchao, hidden a seal that imprisoned an emperor-grade creature. System: open skills list. Activate seal breaker. As the skill activated, the scroll beneath his palm started burning in flames. Mark retracted his hand in reflex. The entire scroll was burned to ash, leaving behind a bird with color plumage. It looked ordinary at one glance. The bird that was sleeping on its side suddenly woke up and looked around. It saw Mark and chirped in happiness. Mark immediately scanned its details. Jing Wei. Grade Battle Emperor. Rank 2-9 at her peak state. Age 16,344. Attribute Fire. Description: Jingwei is the daughter of Yan Dai, the Flame Emperor, one of the 3 sovereigns of the planet that ascended to the immortal realm. After drowning in the sea, her soul was merged with an immortal bird that consumed the fire seed. Determined to fill up the sea so that no one would drown like her, she started throwing twigs and stones for years and years. After breaking through the supreme realm, Jingwei proceeds to throw mountains into the sea, almost destroying the ecosystem of the planet. The guardian of the oceans and seas, the Kun worked with Emperor Zhuangsu and sealed her because they couldn't kill her. Now, that's a long description. Mark was observing the description written on the holographic screen while the bird was staring at him, thinking that the human was observing her. The bird flapped its wings and flew toward Mark. He stretched his left hand forward in reflex, and the bird landed on his arm. As it was tilting its head right and left, Mark let out his business smile. "Hello, I'm Lu Zhen. Do you want to follow me?" In response, the bird let out a lively chirp once again, but then it followed it with suddenly attacking his arm. SSSS. Mark retracted his arm in reflex once again, but while letting out a painful hiss. However, the bird seemingly attached to his arm didn't move a bit. It went on consuming his blood. Upon consuming it, it started glowing brightly. Ding, a contract has been formed. Wait, what about my consent? Mark was surprised that it accepted him as its master just like that. Ding, the host has already given his consent. Ah, I guess so. Mark remembered asking it to come with him. That's the same as initiating the contract. But still, he didn't expect the bird would accept it without the medium of any tamming scrolls, tamming skill, and most importantly, without putting up any fight. Not to mention, the bird wasn't a newborn and lived long enough to be wiser than him. As Mark was wondering whether he was lucky, the blinding flash of light over the bird enlarged to at least 3.5 feet in size, and when the glow disappeared, Mark saw a little girl on the ground with fiery flames covering her, in the form of a traditional robe. Ding, Jiang Wei's condition restored to the peak. Mark had his mouth opened and eyes widened for a moment, staring at the scene. What the? The final nail hit the coffin when that girl jumped at him and hugged his legs. Baba, father in affectionate form, similar to Papa. Mark. Chapter 520.1, Civil War at Phoenix Empire, Part 1. An hour later. Papa, the streets look so lively here. Papa, look, food is made on the streets here. Papa, why are people lining up for food, there and there and there? Do the rain gods get angry once again? Papa, the roads look so smooth. Do you remember back then we used to travel in a jungle and it is tough too? Papa, whose statue is that? It certainly doesn't look like yours. Whoa, this is where we are going to stay. The house looks so big, the little girl exclaimed as they got out of the vehicle. As Mark put away the vehicle, Little Jiang Wei grabbed his hand and skipped like a normal kid as they climbed the stairs to get into the palace. The guards around couldn't help but wonder who the kid was. Due to the fact that Mark had the look of an annoyed person, not even the vice-general passing by dared to ask him about her identity and merely greeted him. As both of them entered the palace, the little girl started exclaiming every second, pointing at various things from paintings to even the chandelier as if she was looking at them for the first time. Her voice was also quite loud. Soon, Sylvandria and Song Yue came down to meet him as he asked them through communication scrolls while he was on the way. As for Shen Ling, she was slightly preoccupied with kingdom affairs at the moment, acting as an unofficial advisor to her dad. Both of them were puzzled by the little girl and were curious about her. The little girl looked at Song Yue and suddenly hid behind Mark. "Papa, that pretty woman is so scary." As the ladies were startled by her comment, especially Song Yue, Mark furrowed his brows in displeasure. "Jiang Wei, what's scary about her?" Meanwhile, a sense of confusion arose within Mark. "I don't know," she shook her head as she hugged Mark's waist from behind. "She is so scary, I don't like her." Mark couldn't help but scan Song Yue's details once again. As he saw nothing strange, he reprimanded her. "Do you want to go back?" "Eek, not that prison, I hate it." Jiang Wei's face went pale for a second and she shook her vigorously, throwing a tantrum. "I hate it, I hate it, I hate it." Her voice rose higher and higher, enough that Song Yue had to tightly shut her ears. Mark also raised his voice at her to stop her shouting. "Fine then. Apologize to her right now." Jiang Wei was startled by Mark's sudden outburst, and so were his ladies. Anand Spencer, aka the golden kitten that was peacefully sleeping in Song Yue's arms, suddenly woke up. After a brief glance at its master and then at the girl, it went back to sleep. Marky calmed down. As Song Yue tried to cool him down, the little girl went on her knees and kowtowed. "I apologize." "Ah, that's fine." Song Yue was embarrassed. She stepped forward. Just as she touched the kid, the latter shivered and quickly jumped away before going back to hiding behind Mark. "Please don't come near me." "Jiang Wei." As Mark was about to lash at her once again, Sylvandria interrupted by taking the girl in her hands. "You were fine with me, right?" The little girl broke out into a beautiful smile. "You smell just like Grandma." She went on hugging the elf, bringing a smile to her face as she started caressing her hair. She then turned her head to look at Mark. "I will take her with me." "Okay." Soon both of them left, leaving behind a disappointed Song Yue and an angry Mark. Mark took a deep breath to calm himself and went on grabbing Song Yue's arm. "Don't worry about that girl. She is not as you think she is." "Who is she?" Song Yue asked in response. Mark explained everything, like how he went to the merchant's residence, got the scroll, and later freed her from the prison. He also didn't forget to mention that the girl is more than 16,000 years old, making her one of the oldest creatures on the planet. Mark thought that Song Yue's mood got better, but it only turned worse instead. "Why is she afraid of me then?" "Maybe she knows that I'm an evil witch who killed her own father. Now, because of me, to avenge my father, you were forced to destroy thousands of lives." "No, you are not." Mark softly grabbed her face and raised it to look into her eyes. "I told you many times, don't blame yourself for his death. You would only belittle his sacrifice by speaking in such a manner. And I promised you that I will keep bloodshed to the minimum, aren't I?" After a brief pause, he added, "My shats, even in the future, never forget that whatever I'm planning isn't just about avenging your father. It is also to settle down my old accounts. Once they were completed, both of us will get to start a new life together, hopefully one that of a long-lasting peace." As tears formed in her eyes, she moved forward and let Mark hug her, only to get separated in a second with the interruption from a cat lying in between them and getting squeezed. "Maud Maud Mau." As the cat expressed its irritation at sleep interruption once again, both of them laughed together. How cute. 2 days later. Roughly around 785 kilometers away from the imperial city, lies on the border of Jin province and Zhao province, at an agriculture field that spans over 1,000 acres, divided into hundreds of plots of land. An army comprising of about 500 soldiers marched to the place and gathered all the farmers working there. Various landlords from surrounding villages were summoned by the commander. A commander position isn't a fixed position in the army. It was just a temporary position given to one of the captains when there were more of them in the army and no LT, general, to command them. Nevertheless, it is the same as a general summoning the landlords, and they didn't dare to neglect the order. It didn't even take an hour for all 26 of them to arrive. Once all of them came, the leader of the force opened the scroll, received the decree of His Majesty. At once, every single one of those landlords knelt down in unison. The leader, surnamed Fang, then read the scroll. According to the new reforms created by the Imperial Palace, this party location in the county of Zion is selected for building the headquarters of the newly developed firearms division. Henceforth, the landlords is obliged to hand over the deeds to the district magistrate within 3 days and get respective compensation. No, this is unfair. How could we give up this place in 3 days? One landlord raised his voice against the decree. Commander Fang sharply gazed at the person who questioned and raised his palm. A burst of ether energy erupted from his palm and traveled like a beam, striking the said landlord's chest and killing him swiftly. Everyone around got scared by the sudden actions of this fellow. Commander Fang then spoke. Anyone who dares to question His Majesty's decree shall be dead. Now, who has any objections? After the death of a landlord, who is considered a minor noble, no farmer or other landlord dared to voice out their opinion. They knelt in silence. Commander Fu observed the people and nodded with a smirk on his face. Good. He turned his head to look at one of the captains. Proceed. In the next couple of hours, the farmers continued to kneel on the ground and cried in agony as the soldiers destroyed at least 2/3 of the crops with fire spells. By noon, the army hurriedly left the place without finishing all the crops for some reason. But the damage done was enough to cause commotion in the province. The next day morning, Shang Jun, with a severed arm, was forced to assemble the ministers and other administrative officials in the court. It was actually his first appearance since his arm was severed by Steve. He doesn't want to come out until he regenerates the arm, but the urgent situation forces him to come out. As expected, murmurings could be heard in the place where the officials were standing. As Shang Jun's eyes narrowed, the third prince, Shang Wei, addressed the court. Silence. As the courtroom went silent, Shang Jun spoke in a mighty emperor tone in contrast with his state. Yesterday, there was an incident at the Zhao province. I want to ask who authorized it, who created the fake decree and caused damage to the farmers. General Yu. The soldiers claim to be from your division. Any explanation? A young-looking general came forward and greeted the emperor. Yu Jianming is the newly appointed general of the firearms division. He was originally a captain-ranked officer at the Southern Division under Shang Wen, the second prince. Because of his experience as a commander and his military family background, he was recommended by Shang Wen and later appointed by the former emperor. However, the firearms division was still in the recruitment phase and isn't in operation. Hence, Shang Jun, who knows nothing about firearms, kept his position that way. Not to mention, he planned on disbanding the division in the future as he didn't want to allocate the funds on weapon purchases from Mark and make him richer. Now, seeing that this very insignificant division caused him trouble, Shang Jun was naturally furious at this young general. Never in the world would he expect Yu Jianming to calmly answer him without any sort of expression, as if he was giving a fact. Your Majesty, they were certainly not from our division. Of our 1681 soldiers, 244 formerly belonged to the Southern Division, led by General Wen. They were disciplined and loyal to the Empire. The remaining soldiers cannot cultivate. They cannot launch fire spells. If His Majesty wants to hold someone responsible, it should be the Zhao clan that controls the Zhao province. Chapter 521.2 Civil War at the Phoenix Empire, Part 2. The next day, Imperial Palace, Phoenix Empire. In the morning court session where all officials are present, the new Zhao clan's patriarch, Zhao Yinping, was found kneeling before the emperor alongside his clan's grand elder, a reputed peak stage six-circle realm expert. "Do you have anything to say, Zhao Yinping?" Shang Jun. The emperor looked so angry that he didn't even bother to address the other party with the formal title of the governor. We have no idea about it, your majesty. Please show mercy." Zhao clan's grand elder kowtowed and apologized. Shang Jun's anger only increased further. "An army of at least 500 in numbers entered your territory and did such an act, but you are telling me that your clan has no idea." His voice echoed in the hall, startling the low-level officials. Zhao Yinping, on the other hand, calmly cupped his fists while looking down. "Zhao clan has nothing to do with this matter. His Majesty may launch an investigation against us. We will cooperate. If anything, it is the Southern Eastern Division's job to protect the region from such incidents." Shang Jun narrowed his eyes as he got up and slowly walked down from the throne. "First, General Yu, and now, you, it looked like you people at high-level positions are accustomed to not having any fear for the emperor at all. Throwing responsibilities on each other." Letting out a chuckle, he added, "My uncle was really too forgiving on his subjects. No wonder there is so much corruption in the empire." As the entire court was stunned by Shang Jun's remark, the latter reached the kneeling clan lord and raised his foot to place it on his shoulder with his arm placed on the thigh, shocking everyone even more. "Listen carefully, Zhao Yinping. The entire Phoenix Empire is my territory, and you are given a job to govern a portion of that territory, which you failed to do it right. So it doesn't really matter whether Zhao clan has a hand in it or not. You ought to be punished alongside the people who couldn't fulfill their duties too." While the old emperor took away the ministries from 6 major noble clans, the new emperor took a historical decision among the others just within the first week of his ruling, abolishing the vassal system altogether that had been in the law for 1784 years. It is how he crushed the arrogance of nobles and gained the respect of the masses. The generals and the soldiers also followed his decrees because, in their eyes, their new emperor looked like a mighty lion compared to a peace-loving lazy house cat like their former emperor, Shang Fu. While the vassal system has been abolished by Shang Jun, to keep damage to the minimum, he appointed them as the provincial governors. The other 6 clans still looked after the provinces they ruled before, but they could no longer keep the 15% share of the taxes like before. Instead, all the taxes they collected would go to the imperial palace, and it would then be allocated back to the provinces. A number of benefits they enjoyed were cut off, but at the very least, the governors have salaries and their enormous influence within their region will be enough to snatch a share from the allocated resources. Hence, for the past few weeks, these 6 nobles often felt that they were in a higher hierarchy compared to the other 6 major nobles who lost everything. Zhao Yinping was the same. However, he never expected to be treated in such a way by this new emperor. Not only he was forced to kneel for an act he had no relation with, but he was also further humiliated by this young emperor who was just insignificant until a while ago. He clenched his fists and released them, trying to control his anger, for he understood that Shang Jun would even go as far as massacring his clan to prove his ego. Eventually, Shang Jun put down the foot from his shoulder and straightened his back as he addressed the rest of the court. "Here's my decree. For neglecting his duties as the governor of the Zhao province, Zhao Yinping will receive 100 lashes in public this noon. Each farmer will be compensated with 2 gold coins for their misfortune, and the destroyed land will be purchased by the imperial palace as stated in that fake decree. And for a period of 14 days, military law will be applied in all the provinces apart from Imperial City. I order each general to take up their warriors and protect the lands from these traitors that use my name to do evil things. Until then, I authorize the Censorate Division under the Department of State Affairs to launch a full-scale investigation and catch those culprits. Under no circumstances, no official or the one who received an investigation stamp from the Censorate shall leave their respective provinces." The new ministers and all the officials bowed to the emperor's decree and collectively echoed, "All hail your majesty." After a while, in the imperial grounds where public trails are conducted, Zhao Yinping was tied to a metal pole by energy ropes. His cultivation is sealed for the moment, and his upper body is bare. One after another, his body was beaten by a whip with spikes. It isn't a normal whip. This is a special whip of semi-divine grade, used to punish high-level cultivators. Even though his cultivation is sealed, Zhao Yinping, who cultivated in the path of fighter, had a robust body, and hence needed such a weapon to feel pain. Amid thousands of gazes, the whip struck him again and again, increasing his pain with every lash. However, Zhao Yinping didn't scream at all. He had his gaze on the ground and he was trying his best to bear the pain. Meanwhile, in the adjacent tent of the royal tent, Supreme Commander Bai was conversing with the third prince as they were watching the scene. His Majesty's action is like a double-edged sword, Your Highness. I worry that this will only create more mess instead of giving a strong message to the enemies, commented the Supreme Commander, making sure to keep his voice low. Shang Wei replied, "Based on our spies at Yuan clan, eldest brother secured at least 1 million gold coins from his backer and was currently trying to poach all the noble clans. His Majesty was aware that Yuan clan was hiding the eldest brother, but he wasn't sure whether he was still the one behind that attack. This punishment for clan leader Zhao will certainly serve as a warning to other noble clans. Even after this, if they join the eldest brother, it would mean our suspicions will be true. If they behave, it means that eldest brother isn't a threat and His Majesty would fearlessly raid the Yuan clan and arrest him, probably using this incident as an excuse." Bai Zun was stunned for a moment, realizing how deep this matter was. "Is this your idea, or Cao Wen's?" he asked. Shang Wei could only sigh in response. "Obviously not me. I won't suggest something barbaric like this. Violence always begets hatred, and hatred only brings violence." Bai Zun meaningfully stares at the prince for a couple of seconds and asks, "Let's say your worries are true. What would you think the next course of action from your brother is going to be?" "Civil war," Shang Wei replied without any hesitation, right away. He further added, "A kind of civil war that will destroy this empire in one way or another." "What do you mean?" As Bai Zun's facial expression hardened, Shang Wei explained, "His Majesty isn't like my father. He won't make peace treaties. If not for that incident, he would have already proceeded on invading the Western Yan." "A war with Western Yan?" Bai Zun furrowed his brows in displeasure. "Going to war with Feng Wu means inviting death. Why do you even think we ceded that land in the first place? As the supreme commander of the army, I won't throw my soldiers into the pit of fire even if it is a decree from the emperor." "There's a lot you don't understand, uncle," Shang Wei shook his head with a sigh. "When His Majesty was attacked, he passed the order to Cao Wen to bring his men to the imperial city. It happened right in front of me. Who are these men? I'm not sure about it. But the fact that he was confident in dealing with a supreme being means that he had the support of a sect or an organization that could protect his throne from such an enemy. This is why I told you there will be a civil war that destroys the empire earlier." Bai Zun thought for a bit and nodded in agreement. "I guess that's true. When both forces that don't have pure domination over their opponent go against each other, the result of their clash will continuously generate waves that destroy their surroundings." Just as Shang Wei expected, exactly 9 days later, the imperial palace received a letter from the Yuan clan with the seal from their patriarch. It is an announcement of the formation of Phoenix rebel forces. The head of the Phoenix rebel forces is naturally the crown prince, and their demand is the dethronement of Shang Jun. Their excuse is his robust policies on nobles, preferring to give trade contracts to foreign merchants instead of favoring local merchants, military law to snatch freedom, and showing harsh treatment of his loyal subjects has put a taint on the name of the Shang dynasty. Thousands of soldiers that deployed in the south to control northern and southern Yuan provinces, and Shang Jun planned to use them to crush the Yuan clan without giving any warning. However, the general of the south didn't follow his orders. Through their spies, the imperial palace got the news that not only the southern division had joined the rebel forces under the crown prince, but even the Zhao clan had joined the other side. The eastern and western divisions were still tightly controlling their deployed territories, i.e. Sui, Jin, and Qing provinces, but the Zhao and the remaining two provinces were now protected by the southern division alongside the major clans. As for the northern division, it was still protecting the imperial city and its outer districts. All the soldiers who tried to defect from their division were either imprisoned or killed. Of course, some soldiers managed to escape successfully, but they all went into hiding with their families, not intending to risk their lives. However, Shang Jun didn't make any decision and calmly rested, as if nothing was going wrong. And then, 3 days later, on the day his arm finally returned with a miraculous pill, mysterious experts that had been hiding in the imperial city for several days made their move at the same time. In the span of one night, several leaders and important elders of the 6 major clans that reside in the imperial city were all assassinated. The situation completely changed for even Bai Zun and Shang Wei. Because both of them always showcased their loyalty to the throne, Shang Wei and Bai Zun were house arrested at their respective homes in the name of protection. The deaths of nobles naturally put on the head of the Phoenix rebel force. This ruthless action brought a profound response from Mark, forcing him to change his original plans slightly. Chapter 522, Return of Fu Sheng. Genesis Enterprises, Lunaris City, Western Moon Kingdom. Ding, congratulations, you won the mysterious box from the lottery reward. Ding, opening the box in 3, 2, 1. Ding, you won a random skill evolution card. Ding, random skill evolution card was used. Choose the path, multiple lightning clones clone. Mark, for the first time, got a skill evolution card from the weekly lottery wheel, and his lightning clone was randomly selected, probably because of his current 10 points of luck. System descriptions, please. Multiple lightning clones. Summon any number of lightning clones with stats equal to your maximum stats plus 1. Cost, 1% ether second per each clone. CD, none. Elemental clone. Summon a clone of any element that the user possesses for 5 minutes. The summoned clone has the same stats as the user but could effectively have the same set of respective elemental skills that the user possesses. Cost, 50% ether energy. CD, none. I could summon even an antimatter-type clone. That's freaking awesome, but I have no use for it. After taking a look at both details, Mark chose a simpler one and best for the present situation over their overall potential. Ding, Lightning Clone has evolved to multiple Lightning Clone skill. Okay, the lottery is done. Next. System, open statue of Velkazar. Ding, prayed once. You received a basic fireball card 3 as a reward. Not another basic fireball. I already got 2 of them from last time and now another 2. This statue never gives me useful ones. What do I do with these fireballs that could only injure 3 Circle Realm Spirit Warriors, and they can't even be given to others? Anyway, let's just stack it up in the inventory. Why waste throwing free stuff? After his luck points returned to normal, Mark left the store, although not before handing a 10 gold coin bonus to Chang Bo, who was constantly the source of his luck absorption. Upon returning to the palace, he saw hundreds of servants were busy, cleaning the palace and the residences inside the compound. Even the barracks were swept once again, and the soldiers were also busy cleaning their armor to make them look all shiny. The kitchens were busy with royal chefs shouting at his assistants for their mistakes, and the soldiers were busy practicing their march on the palace grounds. Mark had slightly given more attention to the firearms division that's basically comprised of only non-cultivators but are highly skilled in archery. While it is active, unlike at Phoenix Empire, there was still no permanent commander appointed for this division. They were currently employed in the patrolling division. The reason why he paid special attention to it isn't just because they were using his weapons, but it is because of the teenage girl who was leading the march. For several weeks, Zai Mei was training under Meng Tao. When she surpassed him, she began training the troops that were mostly depending on the guidelines from the first batch briefly trained under Mark. When Mark was spotted by Mei, she put more enthusiasm into the drills, but by the time she tried to glance at him again to see his reaction, he was gone. She could only sigh inwardly and continue the exercise. Roughly 2 hours later, a huge troop entered the Lunaris city. The citizens stopped their work and stood on the side, watching them out of curiosity. The spirit warriors' cultivators couldn't help but shiver as they watched the soldiers dressed in scarlet and gold armor. The weakest of them is in the 6th Circle Realm, and there are more than 8th Circle Realm experts. As for the one leading them, no one could even gauge his strength. They could only feel awe by looking at him. It took an hour for them to reach the palace. And there, the king was seen waiting with his officials. The ladies weren't present as they did when they welcomed Mark and his companions a while ago. However, the king seemed more enthusiastic as he stared at the army. Wearing a long, flowing robe made from the finest silk dyed in imperial yellow, embroidered across the robe are golden rabbits with scarlet vertical eyes. These cute creatures are depicted amidst clouds, causing an illusion to a spectator that they are chasing white pearls across the skies. His hat was also adorned with strings of pearls and jade. Overall, his wear screams of this luxurious royal attire from even far away. Who are these troops, one wonder? Well, these are elite troops of Fu Sheng that traveled all the way from Dragon Empire on their warship, and just reached Western Moon's shores 3 days ago, but waited until their imperial sovereign arrived from his trip. As James parted his ways with Fu Sheng after entering Western Moon for some reason, he couldn't be seen with Fu Sheng at the royal banquet arranged for the demigod. Fu Sheng sat along with the king, state preceptor, and Mark on the central platform, which was built a few feet higher than the rest of the floor with pillars. Each one had a rabbit statue made of top-quality jade on the top that held a white pearl. "Young master, this is one of the finest liquors I have ever tasted. Thank you for allowing me to taste it." Fu Sheng was all courteous with Mark as he drank the cup of vodka, which was only served to the spirit warriors with at least 5 Circle Realm cultivation. As King Shen Nu and the state preceptor meaningfully glanced at each other, Mark waved his hand while taking a sip in calmness. "Please, you are overrating it. Young master, as our cultivation level increases, the effect of the liquors will automatically decrease. Most of the wines will become akin to flavored water for us." Fu Sheng let out a smile as he explained. He continued to praise, "This drink is made of common ingredients we could find anywhere, and yet it has this neutral flavor taste, clean and smooth. The best thing is that a moment of instant burn you would feel when gulping." The former imperial sovereign of Dragon Empire really looked like he enjoyed the drink, for the onlookers. However, Mark only felt like he was flattering him. Hence, he tried to keep his conversation light without expressing too much of his thoughts on the ongoing civil war in the neighboring lands. But eventually, when the topic of mass assassinations came up, he had to speak up on the matter, although not in the way Shen Nu expected him to react. Regardless of whether it is Shang Jun's ploy or the rebel force's action, it won't change the fact that the imperial city has become too dangerous for the nobles. Better to open the borders for them and give them shelter. Mark also told them that he was going to launch a secret operation to take out some acquaintances from that war zone. Upon hearing his plan, King Shen Nu said, "I heard that the prospective heirs of those 6 clans were taken into tight protective custody, and Miss Lin Zhu is one of them. It is quite possible that Emperor Shang did it to keep the clans under control and to get their support against the rebel forces. In that case, getting Miss Lin out might unnecessarily spread a rumor that Mr. Lu is supporting the rebels." Before Mark replied to that, Fu Sheng spoke. "Actually, we don't need to resort to such methods. If the young master gives me the order, I and my Gold Dragon Knight division are ready to go there and bring whoever we want. Believe me when I say, there is no empire in the world that could dare deny our demands." Mark fell into thoughts for a second, considering his suggestion seriously for a second. After all, he did underestimate Shang Jun, not expecting him to decisively move against the 6 major noble clans before they even had the opportunity to join the civil war. There is also an issue of trust in this demigod, who can only be used as muscle for now. After thinking thoroughly, he opened his mouth, replying to Fu Sheng. Just one person would do, Mr. Fu. Just visit Shen Niue by yourself and bring her to Western Moon. There are 3 more you can bring along in return, but only if they volunteer to tag along, although I don't think they would. Understood, Fu Sheng nodded, but then asked after a brief pause, by the way, who are those 3? The 2 imperial princes and the supreme commander, replied Mark in a calm manner, taking the others by surprise. Chapter 523, Shang Wei proposes to Lin Zhu. Imperial Palace, Phoenix Empire. Shang Wei was waiting outside the inner quarters with a bunch of guards behind him, not for security, but to keep an eye on him. After waiting there for at least half an hour, Lin Zhu came out with a eunuch accompanying her. That usual cold demeanor Shang Wei used to see in her was gone and replaced by a blank look on her. She completely seemed like someone devoid of emotions. Even her greeting was like a simple hello without any expression on her face. No one could understand whether she was annoyed, sad, or happy. Shang Wei inwardly sighed and spoke, Sister Zhu, I want to talk to you about something. What is it? She asked. Shang Wei turned his head. Can you give us privacy? One of the guards replied with a bit of hesitation, but His Majesty ordered us not to leave our sight on you even for a second. Even the palace is not safe for His Highness. It wasn't the first time Shang Wei heard this nonsense during the past few days. He could only come to a bit of compromise and ask, then, can you move away? Or does His Majesty also order you to not let me even talk to my friend? They could only follow his request and slightly increase their distance. As the eunuch also left them alone, Shang Wei then said to Lin Zhu, who looked like she wasn't interested at all, Look, I know that this isn't how I want to ask you, but it is the only way I can think to protect you. Of course, I also don't want to take advantage of the situation, and I also don't want you to think like. Get to the point, Lin Zhu interrupted him in a plain tone. Shang Wei took a deep breath and grabbed her pale hands. Will you marry me? I swear that I won't take any concubine or even show remote interest in another lady for all my life. I will protect you as long as... Yes, Lin Zhu once again interrupted him, but this time with a positive reply, and surprisingly, she neither retracted her hands from his grip at all. Shang Wei was stunned for a moment, and a big smile appeared on his face. Really? He couldn't even believe his ears for a moment. Are you really agreeing to be my wife? He asked once again in disbelief. This time, Lin Zhu gave a bit of a long reply. Yes, but don't ever think I'm going to love you or I'm doing this for my survival. I have discarded my emotions, Your Highness. I'm nothing but a killing machine right now. So it doesn't matter who I marry. But since I'm long aware of your feelings, I will give you a warning. The moment I believe I gained enough strength, I'm going to leave everything behind and start hunting down the people that are directly or indirectly responsible for my parents' death. Those who come in my way will die, even if it is you. Just keep it in your mind if you want to marry me. Shang Wei felt pain in his heart, and that pain reflected in his eyes as he softly spoke. Lin Zhu, I promise that I will be on your side no matter what you do. Lin Zhu didn't have much reaction to it and simply nodded. Good. You can go and begin your preparations. Now, if you excuse me, she turned around and walked away from there. Meanwhile, the leader of those 7 guards, who had been watching it from afar but could still hear it clearly due to his high cultivation level, high 6th circle, thought, His Highness is getting married into Lin clan. I need to inform Lord Cao. By the end of the day, the news of their marriage not only reached Shangjun, but also the citizens living in the capital city. The next day morning, Your Highness, please wake up. Your Highness, you are being summoned by His Majesty. The servants woke up Shang Wei in a hurry. The Prime Minister of the Empire looked very haggard with his reddened eyes and tired-looking face, as he was forcefully woke up and got readied. Shang Wei didn't know why he was summoned, but the civil war made him wonder whether there was an urgent situation that required his assistance. Despite being house arrested, he is still the prime minister and loyal to the throne. The prince reached the emperor's study room in a hurry, only to see a dignified-looking stranger sitting opposite Shang Jun while they were having tea. "Your Majesty," Shang Wei greeted his cousin with a deep bow and observed the stranger. In the next instant, sweat beads formed on his forehead while his legs shivered a bit. This fellow has a profound cultivation level, stronger than even Song Tai. My bloodline instincts are telling me to run away. He shouldn't be a supreme being. Don't tell me he is a demigod. Prime Minister Shang, this is Saint Fu, the Dragon Empire's former imperial sovereign. He is also the junior brother of Lan Jiangxin, your grandfather. Shang Jun introduced the gentleman to a nervous Shang Wei, taking him by surprise. Shang Wei greets the elder. The prince cupped his fists as he greeted him with a bow. The fact that the emperor addressed with the title saint only confirmed his suspicions. Still, he addressed him as an elder because this person is a junior brother of his grandfather, which makes him more or less the same as a real granduncle. However, Fu Sheng had developed a frown on his face. "Hold your tongue, Emperor Shang. He awakened your family's phoenix bloodline, just like yourself. I hope you don't link him to the Lan clan or Lord Lan Jiangxin for that matter." Shang Wei doesn't know how to deal with the situation other than staying silent. In front of a demigod, he is nothing more than an insignificant existence. As a result, Shang Jun could only apologize to Fu Sheng and go directly to the matter. "Anyway, Prime Minister Shang, Saint Fu is here to take away Miss Lin Zhu with him. Since you are going to marry her, if you are willing to sacrifice your homeland and go with her, I won't stop you from leaving." Lin Zhu, Shang Wei was taken aback. This time he couldn't stay silent and fearlessly spoke to the demigod. "I'm sorry, but why do you want to take her away?" "Shang Wei," Shang Jun hissed at him in urgency, taking a glance at Fu Sheng's face. The demigod didn't seem like he was angry, and it relieved the young emperor a little bit. Shang Jun then took the initiative to give an explanation to Shang Wei. "Saint Fu is a friend of Lu Zhen, and Lady Song Yue is worried about her friend who lost her family. The rebel forces are powerful enough to carry out such assassinations in one night, toppling down the entire imperial city. So, their worries are not unfounded. Along with this, Lu Zhen has another message for 3 other people. You, Prince Shangbo, and Supreme Commander Bai Zun. The 3 of you are also invited to live at Western Moon until everything becomes normal here." Lu Zhen was supposedly doing this as a way of repaying Uncle Shang Fu and Queen Consort Lan. Fu Sheng then further added, "However, you have a choice of not taking up this offer too. It doesn't matter. The only one that is of significance is Miss Lin Zhu." Shang Wei stayed silent for a while, seeming as if he was pondering on the offer. But when he opened his mouth, he responded with a question. "If this matter is actually linked to Lu Zhen and Sister Yue, then, as long as they are convinced that she is safe here, then you should have no problem with it. Am I correct?" Fu Sheng briefly stared at him and firmly nodded, "Yes." Shang Wei turned toward his cousin and knelt while cupping his fists. "Your Majesty, I request you to send me as an official envoy to Western Moon. The Western Moon is strong, and even if we aren't allies, Lu Zhen is still a businessman who loves money. I can go there on your behalf to hire his services using funds as well as with an official letter of giving up our legitimacy over Western Yan. We can end the civil war in a jiffy. Since we are paying him, there is no favor we have to fulfill later on, too. It will be like using a tool to beat up our enemies without injuring ourselves. If you give me an hour, I can draft a plan that you won't refuse." Fu Sheng. Shang Jun. Chapter 524, Revealing the Truth to Shang Wei. The next day evening. Yue Zuzu. The 2 best friends who lost their respective fathers very recently reunited after months of separation, but only one was all emotional. Forget about tears. There wasn't even a shred of emotion in Lin Zhu even after she met Song Yue and long escaped house arrest. Song Yue was quick to spot the change in her, and she couldn't help but express her worry. Zhu, what happened to you? She grabbed her face and looked at her, after taking her to the side to talk privately. Lin Zhu answered truthfully this time. I learned our clan's forbidden cultivation technique, the Heart of Frost, Yue. It will increase my cultivation speed and increase the power of my lightning armor, but in exchange, as I increase my mastery over the technique, I will also lose my emotions one after another. I'm at the 3rd level right now, and I can no longer express my feelings. By the time I reach the 10th level, I probably... Lin Zhu didn't complete her explanation and stopped talking in the middle. What will happen? As Song Yue asked her, Lin Zhu took her hands into hers and patted the back of her hand. Forget about me. Tell me about your situation. When are you going to get married? Song Yue could only let out a sigh as she heard the word marriage. Lu Zhen wants to marry after he settles some business. It is related to Shang Jun and Uncle Shang Fu. I can't tell you all the details, I'm sorry. That's all right with me. Lin Zhu nodded in understanding. She added, unfortunately, I'm not in a situation to worry about other things at the moment. Of all my acquaintances currently alive, you are the closest thing to me. As long as you are fine, I won't have to worry about anything and focus on my goal. Since I'm already here, can I ask you to do a favor for me? I want to find out the identities of the ones that killed my parents. Meanwhile, in the royal private study room, Mark was alone with Shang Wei. After reading it entirely, Mark placed it calmly on the table and looked at his half-brother. A mine in the Sui province that has at least 500 tons worth of ether ore in exchange for closing the borders of Western Yan and Western Moon from our side, and formally aligning ourselves with the Imperial Palace on just paper. The Phoenix Empire will not only officially relinquish its claims on Western Yan, but even send a royal princess, a relative of the imperial family, not to be confused with the imperial princess, to the royal Feng family for the marriage, which could be used to convince them on the border closures and put an end to enmity. The plan is impressive, I should say, but there is only one major problem here. What is it? Shang Wei felt like his heart skipped a beat and became a bit nervous. Mark's gaze changed to that of coldness as he asked, what do you think it is? Whatever bad blood you have with the imperial family, the source was my father. The current emperor shouldn't have any problems with you, right? Shang Wei tried to make the other party understand that they weren't enemies. Mark let out a cold chuckle. Heh, I thought your intelligence was comparable to that of Princess Shen Ling's, but it is a bit disappointing. Well, let me break it to you by stating 2 simple facts. As Shang Wei's nervousness increased, Mark continued, the one behind the death of Song Yun is Shang Jun, and I also know for sure that the behind Lin Zhu's parents is also your dear emperor. He picked up the scroll and waved it while leaning to the edge of the seat. Now, do you still want to give this proposal to me? Shang Wei's eyes widened, and realization dawned upon him at once as if he solved a great puzzle that had been troubling him for a while. It's you. You were the one behind my eldest brother, the one who sent that supreme being to assault our emperor. It has been a while since Uncle Song Yun died, and there is no way someone like you wouldn't leave your enemy alone. Killing him is easy for you, but you won't do that as it will be an easy punishment. Clab, clab, clab. Wonderful. Now that is what I expect from you. Mark didn't bother denying Shang Wei's theory at all. He further added, as you already figured out the truth, you will stay as a prisoner until I am done punishing your Shang dynasty. After that, you are free to do whatever you want. You cannot imprison me. Shang Wei furrowed his brows and abruptly got up. I'm the official envoy of Phoenix Empire and I'm entitled to immunity. Imprisoning me will not only declare the war on Phoenix Empire, but also challenge the very system of monarchy. The other empires will surely take action on Western Moon. And which empire do you think will support you and go against a demigod? Mark calmly asked him, leaning back to the chair once again. I just have to send a letter to your emperor, stating that you tried taking Shen Ling hostage to release Lin Zhu, and Shang Jun will gladly give his permission to take your head. Or perhaps I will even claim that ether mine you earlier offered as a part of compensation. Shang Wei felt like he was seeing the real personality of this weapon seller sitting before him. Yeah, that's right. Whatever you do, you still pursue material profits. This is who you are, the prince of the foreign land commented with clear displeasure written on his face. So, what is it that my eldest brother promised you? Mark's smile widened. It doesn't matter. That worthless prince will never sit on that throne. With Shang Wen no longer here, I guess you will be left with no choice but to ascend the throne later on. That's weird. You are imprisoning me first and then making me ascend the throne. Wanting to get to the bottom of the matter, Shang Wei sat once again. Why? Eldest brother will make a fine puppet for you. If it was me, I wouldn't stop looking for ways to deal with you. I wonder if you will think the same when you learn that your birth mother was killed by the imperial family, my dear half-brother. What? Meanwhile, in the undying lands of the immortal plane of existence, realm of Grima, in the planet where the Grima Empire's ruling dynasty lives, the Saint Realm human-looking mage arrived at the majestic Golden Palace, only to be stopped by the guards. The mage got angered. You dared to stop me. The guard, with a humanoid naked upper body, animal legs, lion head, and a red mane, replied, Her Majesty currently went to closed-door cultivation and specifically ordered us to send away every visitor. Closed-door cultivation, the mage seemed surprised. Was she trying to break through to the Elder God Realm 15 circle or something? In that case, she might have got her hands on some divine artifact. But the task is still pending. Without her approval, I won't be able to get an immortal realm beast for my dungeon boss. I should look for another way. If she is not in a situation to make any move. Suddenly, something clicked in his head and he spoke to the guards. Okay, just go and inform His Highness, Prince Ororafles, that I wish to meet him. Chapter 525, Unveiling Truths. A few minutes later, Shang Wei stood there in silence with his head hung down as Mark got up and patted his shoulder. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, but this is the truth. I'm going to send you to our land sex guardian, where you will stay disconnected from the rest of the world, and spend there until I'm done with tearing apart the Shang dynasty that our dear forefathers painstakingly built it up. Take this time to make up your thoughts. Shang Wei wanted to say something, but in the end, he cooperated, not because he blindly trusted Mark's words or because the truth is too much to take in. It is because he was worried about Lin Zhu's safety. Steve. With a call from Mark, the 15-year-old entered, and once again confirmed with his appearance that it was Mark who was behind Shang Jun's arm-severing incident. As Shang Wei's cultivation was sealed and taken away to Zheng, Mark sent a message to Song Yue to bring her friend to him upon reading her message through their communication scroll. After a while, Lin Zhu and Song Yue made their way to the royal gardens, where Mark was seen sitting alongside Sylvandria with a kid in the middle as all of them were having tea. From far away, they seemed like one happy family. Lin Zhu was slightly taken aback as she saw the scene. She couldn't help but whisper to her friend, inquiring her about the situation. As Song Yue cleared the misunderstanding, Lin Zhu nodded in understanding and went on to take the seat. Jingwei was quick to hug Mark's arm as soon as she saw Song Yue. Papa, the scary lady is here. Her gaze didn't appear friendly and both the ladies were stunned for a moment. Scary lady. Lin Zhu looked at her once again while frowning inwardly. As for her outer expression, it remained blank. Meanwhile, Mark quickly acted by giving a knock to her head, using great force enough to kill a normal human usually. I already told you not to address her like that. Ouch, it hurts. Jingwei grabbed her head, but she is very scary. SSSS. Letting out a sharp hiss of displeasure, Mark threatened her. Call her scary once again and I will throw you in the... Lu Zhen, the elven beauty, interrupted him and placed her hand on Jingwei's head. Divine energy started flowing through her hand and entering her head. Let me handle it. Jingwei's eyes widened as she hugged Sylvandria's arm this time. Thank you, pretty miss. You were the best mama I could ever have. She then turned her head to Mark. Papa, can I call her mama please? No, Mark's reply was instant and his tone was firm. Lin Zhu leaned her head to Song Yue's ear and whispered, "Are you sure this little girl is not his illegitimate daughter?" "Don't spout nonsense," Song Yue gave a nudge with her elbow. However, Sylvandria's ears perked up and the words entered her ears. She immediately looked at the blank-faced Lin Zhu and spoke. "According to Jingwei, Lu Zhen is her birth father's reincarnation." "What, huh?" As Song Yue and Lin Zhu were surprised by Sylvandria's statement, Mark brushed her off. "That's just bullshit. I remember my past life very well. That world is located far away from here." What did she say? Lin Zhu was even more shocked now. She couldn't just believe what she heard and looked at her friend, who looked way calmer as if she knew about it. However, Sylvandria argued, "It doesn't have to be your past life. It could be one of your past lives." "Nope, it doesn't make sense." Mark didn't agree with her statement. "Are you telling me that I was born in this world and then somehow reincarnated in a faraway world and then reborn in this same world once again? How ridiculous it sounds." "Not if some god purposely reincarnated here." Sylvandria seemed adamant about believing Jingwei's words. Mark stared at her while narrowing his eyes, and she folded her hands to the chest and calmly stared back at him. Both of them participated in the starring contest for a few seconds before the guy admitted defeat and let out a sigh. "Fine, believe whatever you want to believe, Grandma. You should also believe my words, my dear grandson." Sylvandria let out a mischievous grin as she reached out to his head, patting him. "Now be a good boy and—" "Hey, don't go too far." Mark swatted her arm in displeasure. Sylvandria's expression returned to calmness in an instant. "You are too boring," she remarked before observing the two ladies who were staring at them. One looked very uncomfortable while the other was hard to read, although not for her. "Ooh, Lu Zhen, it looked like your friends have questions to ask." Mark stopped talking to the elf and looked at Lin Zhu. "Sorry, we drifted away. Let's speak of your situation." Lin Zhu sorted out her thoughts and asked in her plain tone, "Do you know anything about the recent mass murder incident back at Imperial City?" Mark responded with a question, "Who do you think is the mastermind?" Lin Zhu looked down for a few seconds and then looked at him, replying, "The most likely suspect is the Crown Prince." Mark suddenly broke out into laughter, startling the ladies for a moment. As he continued to laugh, Lin Zhu's mood turned sour, and she grabbed the edge of the table so tight that she might break it at any second. The observant Sylvandria intervened to stop his laughter. After his laughter subsided, Mark continued. "A civil war erupted in the Empire with two powerful major noble clans allied with the Crown Prince in hiding, creating the rebel force. Surprisingly, within just a few days, the clan leaders, key elders from those noble families, and various former officials were assassinated right in the Imperial City, despite it being under the protection of the entire Northern Division Army." His demeanor eventually shifted to that of seriousness as he leaned forward, resting his elbows on top of it and fixing his gaze on the woman. "Now, who do you think is the likely suspect?" "His Majesty." Realization dawned upon Lin Zhu instantly.